It has been 3 short weeks, but we are back in Italy at one of the most recognizable tracks on the calendar. It is iconic Imola. It's got a lot of history and heritage, and only 1 week since the VEC race here means teams haven't really had a lot of time to prepare. So that definitely opens the door to a lot of drama and unpredictability as we head to the third round of SimRacing.Club's GT3 Endurance series. I'm your commentator, Cameron Roger. Joining me today is Aidan Millward. And Aidan, I think we're going to be in for a really great race here at Imola.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic with the long run between the final corner and Tamburello, as well as going through Piratella down the hill towards Acquaminerale. It's going to be really good to see the follow through there. And Imola itself, just a great track for going quick around, but racing here is something else entirely.
Indeed, it's not the easiest track in the world, but it is one of the, in my opinion, it's one of the best quality tracks we do have on rFactor 2 as well, which has been done really well. And it's, you know, not just from a visual side of it, but also from how you have to drive the track with these little yellow curbs you can see on the inside of the cinematic as well. Just makes a really good track for racing. And even though it's obviously not the easiest to overtake in some sections of the track, as it is, you know, an old school tight track, it is certainly a very nice and fun one indeed to drive. And today it is going to be some cloudy weather, but we're not expecting any rain, so it should be 3 hours of pretty much flat out racing the whole way to the end.
Yep, 3 hours, so there'll be pit stops to take into account. Round about the hour mark, as you see here, we've got the Constructors' Championship, but the Teams' Championship up there, Burst Esports in their sort of usual place with 100 points. RHG Esports in second, who I don't think are actually here today.
Yeah.
They weren't in the VEC either, so interested to see what's going to happen there. So Williams Esports will be looking to really take it to Burst over the next few rounds.
Yeah, indeed. So I don't believe for VEC, but at least for GT3 Endurance, the R8G team has pulled out, as far as I'm aware. So obviously their points will still stay valid in terms of the standings, but we basically have to look at Williams, Ben Q, which is Stefanko and Burlak, that team. They are now 30 points behind, which is quite a lot when you consider it's 50 points for a win, and that's only after 2 races. However, there's still plenty, 6 races left to go, so they have loads of time to get that back. But 30 points is a long way indeed. They're going to have to start winning some races, as Burst have dominated the first 2 races. It has to be said, they got the strategy and the speed perfect on both of those occasions. But one thing we do have to factor in is, even though RHG have left, we have the other Williams Esports team with Brzezinski and Wisniewski coming in as well. They missed the first 2 races of the season. They are now here. So I think that is going to open the door to some really great racing. But we can't forget some of those teams in behind that have been offering some really good speed, such as Pescara and Evolution, as well, as we look to the lower parts of the standings. You can see there in 36th place, Williams Esports. Chill Blast, that is the other team. The number 22 that is now finally here at Imola. So yeah, looking really forward to see what we can do in these 3 hours.
Yeah, at 22, the 2 drivers in that are absolutely rapid, so expect them to be probably on the first page of that Teams Championship come the end of the race, or actually for the next time we go to Portland on the day before New Year's Eve, which should be interesting because that's still in the middle of the Christmas period. Hopefully everybody will still be in a decent enough shape to go racing.
Yeah, got a lovely calendar. As we go to the next page, we finish the season with Indianapolis, Bathurst, Suzuka, and a TBA track, which may or may not be a certain European track that just got released for rFactor 2. You can do the maths on that one. So yeah, really nice calendar as we head towards, obviously, the midpoint of the season now. We've already done 1/4 of the season, having done 2 out of the 8 races. And you see we pretty much have one every single month from now up until the 22nd of May, which does seem quite far away, but those races will certainly come very quickly as we head out on track for the warm-up session, where Jenny Simicic, who you can see on screen now, he did get that pole position for Burst Esports in a number 49. So not only leading the way in the championship, but they're leading the way on the track here in Imola as well.
Yeah, currently 2/10 faster than Jakub Brzezinski, or Jakub Brzezinski as he's written on the official sheets. Dennis Lind, Finita Velox, the Lamborghini GT3 driver, is only just in behind currently, so want to see get some wind in chat to help Dennis Lind as he's come back with quite a bang, getting it up into third place currently.
Yeah, Dennis Lind, obviously a massive name racing for Lamborghini in real life racing in the what used to be called the Blancpain series. He obviously led at the Spa 24 back in September, I think that was. Unfortunately, did make a little mistake, so we will brush over that. But yeah, very fast driver. Great to see him coming back to do a bit of sim racing, as he has been out a little bit in the last couple of months. So we've got to see what they can do, because the Knight of Velux car that he's driving hasn't had the absolute best opening to a series that they would have wanted. His car being the number 30, the number 60, the sister car, is up there in 6th place in the championship, with the number 30 only finishing last race, only one of the 2 races, so they're down in 11th place in the championship. So they do have some work to do, but obviously with Dennis Lind coming back in, I'm sure their hopes will be brightened up a little bit.
Yeah, Tucker Hakkinen driving for Nita Velux has been doing okay in GT Challenge. He's got Rory McDuff in there as well, Devin Browner. So they've definitely got the talent. They've just got to make sure they utilise it well enough. Nita Velux back as Nita Velux after being Singularity and having Hyder as part of that group and things like that. It's all very, very, very complicated. So we'll just say that they're back as they are with that. I mean, that is a fantastic livery on a fantastic looking car as well that they've got.
Yes, 720S is a tiny bit down on the old BOP, but Lind doing really good to get it up there. And I should say a nice new livery to come with that is looking really good. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see Dennis and his teammate, which I believe is Christian Michel, battling up there for the podium at the end of these 3 hours. So obviously, with it being a 3-hour race in a GT3 car, we're looking at pretty much 3 1-hour-long stints. We generally see double stinting tyres as well, if possible. We do know that Imola isn't the highest wearing track in the world. There aren't loads of long corners where you really push on the tyres. It's sort of stop-start in some sections. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple of guys trying to do a double stint on their tyres at some point as well.
Yes, if anywhere, Sector 2 is going to be the high wear section. As you can see, the Martin Stefanko here in the big boy BMW, which is actually bigger than the famed M8 that's part of the memes. But you're coming through Acqua Minerale, that section, it's really high on the left front, and then Piratella, which is on the right front, but then it's stop-start through that chicane towards the 2 Raptors at the end of the lap.
Yes, a very old school track, and despite having that nature about it and having loads of grass, there is actually quite a bit of runoff, as you can see on screen as well. For Acqua Minerale, you got that massive tarmac on the outside as well. So there are a couple of places where you can actually abuse the track limits. So drivers will have to look out for that, because if they start getting too many track cuts, which are automatically detected by the simulation, they will get themselves drive-through penalties or stop-go penalties if they cut severely as well. So that is something certainly to look out for, because making up that sort of time over only 3 hours is quite difficult.
Yeah, is it even a race at Imola if there's not whining about the track limits at Acqua Minerale? Because that's where everybody's going to be picking them up, really. Maybe the exit at Piratella as well, if you get caught in dirty air and just sort of slide off towards the exit, as they are now gridding up, ready to go, with Jonas Simoncic, Kuba Brzezinski, Dennis Lind being the top. Actually, no, not the top 3. My thing's not working properly, so it's ignore me. It's on the screen there.
As you say, we've got Simoncic, Brzezinski, Stefanko, and Lind on the front 4 rows. Then we have Henry Sinek and Leon Bock for Drillers and Evolution. Then we have the second Drillers cars of Andonovsky in 7th place, Nico Barkley there in 8th for Wanako One Move, sitting there in 9th place, with Go Team Racing in 10th place. Speedy Mai up in 11th and followed in 12th by Volante Racing. Then we have the other Knight of Velux there in 13th place, Mac Max Barkley driving that car. Then we have Pescara a little bit further down than we have seen them over the course of the season so far. Then moving on to the next page, we've got Bezelia in 17th, followed by Undercover Sim Racing Pro Simtech and the second Speedy Mite there in 20th place. Then we have Revo Satellite Racing, followed by Absolute Motorsports, Scuderia, Muscala, and Blackbirds Racing, who unfortunately I think DNF'd in the first lap of last race. So hopefully they go a little bit quicker this time. Then Omicron in 25th place, followed by HM Engineering Core Team with both their two cars of the Corvette and the BMW, interestingly running different chassis there between the two different cars. Then we have Seawolf, second Pro Simtech, Flying Goat in 31st place, and Caspian in 32nd. Then we finished the grid with Ground Effect, Pushrod, and Joy Racing. So they're looking pretty set up here for the 3 hours of Imola, obviously on their formation lap at the moment. I believe as well there are no penalties to come. So normally after the first couple of laps, we get a couple of drive-through penalties and that sort of stuff from the previous race. But I believe there are none for this race. So it's just flat out racing 3 hours to the checkered flag. As we're now halfway around this formation lap. And obviously Simoncic leading there in the number 49, winning the first two races of the season. Although Burst have actually swapped around their drivers quite a lot. It was Hoyer and Mojek in the first race, and then it was Simoncic and Mojek last race. And now it's Simoncic and I believe Pedersen is going to be driving. So they've got a really broad driver lineup there in terms of the pace and the ability. We all know that they are race-winning drivers, race-winning capable drivers, and it's good to see that they are getting some competition this race, at least from Brzezinski and Wisniewski.
Yeah, there's insane talent depth both at Burst and at Williams as well. Nita Velix, like we said, also got pretty good squad to choose from, but the talent level across the whole field is pretty high as the cars slowly come through on the pit limiter towards the two rFactor corners, making sure that they're nicely 2x2 for the start, and it'll be down to Jano Simoncic when he decides to go.
Indeed, it is possible to get yourself an automatic penalty if you go too far, and mainly if you overtake the row in front of you. So that is really the thing that we're looking out for. And as we come around this final corner of turn 19, which is really just a kink, at some point we'll get the green flag and we'll be going racing. Once Simoncic gets the green flag, he can go, and all of these 35 cars will be racing for 3 hours. So about to line up here for the beginning of the 3 hours of Imola, the third race of the GT3 Endurance Championship, and we are going. It looks like he's got away really well. We're almost 5 wide in the back as Brzezinski comes in to hold on for second place. Seems, there's one of the Pescara cars off. There's someone without a rear wing. I think that's Max Barkley in the background has been spun around, and we are getting a code 80.
Whoa, that's a car upside down.
Yeah, so we're coming to code 80 after only a couple of corners. The car is upside down. This is not exactly the best start that we would have wanted to the third race of the season. There was definitely a car in the background with no rear wing. I believe it was Max Barkley who got hit, potentially by the Speedy Mite of either Sansano or Fennel. I believe it was one of them who got way off into the grass as well. We had the Pescara car off on the left-hand side of our screen as well. So that is not the way we would have wanted to start this race, is it, Aidan?
No, I'm sure Ruben will be able to get a replay of that. I just saw a car just barrel rolling in the background. So the thing is with this track, because it's been modified over the years and the FIA says you've got to have a certain width on the start-finish straight and things like that, it bottlenecks going towards that first Tamburello chicane, and if you're not paying attention or you try to fire it into gaps that don't exist, that's what happens.
Yes, indeed. And you could say maybe a couple of guys are being a little bit too impatient, but then that kink through turn 1 coming down into turn 2 is a very thin part of the track. That's the real old school section that in itself hasn't really changed over the years. So we're going to get a replay here. Let's talk us through it, Aidan.
Right, so, okay. That was one of the Speedy Mite cars getting a bit of a thwack, and... Oh. I think Limp Bizkit wrote a song about that. It's Renko Mayor managing to just about get through all of that. So it's like one of the developers got hit by, I think, a Speedy Mite car, and it just caused absolute carnage in behind.
Yeah, I think there was 2 accidents going on there. Indeed, one of the Speedy Mites got hit it's seemingly before the Knight of Velux car got hit as well. So a couple of different accidents going on there. We were definitely about 5 wide at one point coming through the King Turn 1. So not what we want to see. So let's see. This is Volante Racing, 35th position. Oh, gets squeezed there. So as Pescara bounced off. I think that was the Knight of Velux car who then went into the speedy mine. And unfortunately, Prodan goes for about 5 barrel rolls.
I hope he's not using VR.
Oh, yeah, that would have been not good for him. And unfortunately, Prodan is our first DNF of this race after only about 1 corner, unfortunately for him and Volante Racing there. Yeah, it does get a little bit tight, but you can just see, I think it was Francesconi in the Pescara car coming around the outside of Prodan, then just squeezing in a little bit as is sort of natural, but then obviously when cars start bouncing off each other, it gets a little bit difficult. But as the car without rear wing of Max Barkley gets to the pit lane in about 10 seconds time, we will be going for another green flag situation. As we can see, Core and Pescara coming in already for a pit stop. I do wonder if that is for potential jump penalties as well, as one of the other Core team cars come in, their Corvette does as well. So we now have
a penalty did pop up at the top of the screen when all of that was kicking off, and I think Francesconi was one of them. So if he's serving a penalty under a code 80, that's against the rules.
Yeah, he's just left now after 10 seconds. So I believe he had a 10-second stop-go penalty, which could have been for a jump start, which would have answered the reason why he got such a good start and was flying past Prodan.
We'll go back to green in 5,
we are
10
coming
seconds.
back to green in
5,
10 seconds. So now Simicucci is going to go away for the
3,
second green flag of
2,
the day. Hopefully this one will be
1 green flag.
a little bit more calm as they're now in single file, but we get going. And it seems Simicucci actually made some ground there on Brzezinski during that code 80 period as well. And we're now back racing again for the 3 hours of Imola. In the background there, Antonovsky just made a position past the Bentley, I believe, as we go into a total corner for these guys. And these guys are now going to be trying to get any position that they can, because this is one of the best points of the race, while these cars are so close together to be able to make positions.
Yeah, it was Timotei Antonovsky getting past Mathieu de Crop. So the Pinson Drillers Esports getting past the One Move Esports car. As we're on board with Dennis Lind, or maybe not anymore, Jakub Brzezinski going through Aqua Minerale. Nice and tidy. Don't want to pick up too many corner cuts there this early in the race. And now Antonovsky looking all over the back of Leon Bock in the Evolution Sim Sport car. Sorry, Evolution Motorsports car.
So we're getting very tight here through the Variante outer. And something that just reminded me, Francesconi served a penalty under Code 80, but that might not be allowed actually, because he's come out in 24th place, so he hasn't lost that much, which is why that is a rule. So he might actually end up getting another penalty from that. We'll see how that one works out. But we are now finishing the first lap of green flag racing. Antonovsky going out on the gravel. That could put him under attack from Mathieu de Crop behind. They actually had a bit of a gap in front of him. Fortunately flat, but he's lost the ground a little bit from the back of Leon Bock as de Crop comes in here. He's going to be quite late. He's going to be quite late on the brakes if he's going to make it, but not quite close enough here into turn 2, so he's going to have to sit there just for now.
Yeah, it's that Corvette, well, that Callaway's been followed by a Bentley and a BMW. It looks like something out of a horror film. He's being chased by 2 Predators, but Antonovsky did okay. Oh, there's more carnage at the Villeneuve chicane. Francesconi involved in that. Was he the one that served up the? It was the Omicron car, wasn't it, that got pushed off there?
Yeah, John Nelson got spun around in turn 2. He is now in 31st place. He is way back down behind the pack. So there's obviously been an incident there, potentially involving that Pescara car, as you mentioned as well. As we look at Mark Veit here in 13th place for Scuderia Basile. They had a pretty decent race last time out at the Nordschleife as well, getting well up into the top 10, but he's sitting behind De Silva here in 12th place for the number 93. And as you can see at this stage, after a green flag from a code 80, there's sort of a little bit of a train forming, but this is, as I said, the place where you want to try and make these positions when people haven't really gotten a rhythm yet, and they haven't really got overly comfortable with the car. As we see right here, getting a bit of a slipstream now down into Ravazza. It's going to be a bit of a dive on the inside, but he's backed out of that one.
Yeah, Nick De Silva was absolutely yeeting it over the sausage codes at Variante Alta. Not quite the preferred way of getting through, because you can just upset the car, have to back out of it on the exit, and that's going to lose you momentum coming down the hill towards those final 2 corners. But seems to have it all under control for now. But how's the slipstream going to be as they head towards Tamburello here?
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. You are going to get just about alongside as you come to the braking zone, but you are going to have to really send it on the brakes, and Veit on that occasion has decided to stay behind, but he's certainly very close to Nick De Silva, as we've seen a replay here of John Nelson coming into turn number 2. He's going to have a little hit on the inside here with Francesconi in that Pescara car, spins him around into the gravel. Does he hit the wall? No, he keeps it out of the wall, so his car should be absolutely fine, but he has lost quite a few seconds from that.
So yeah, Francesconi might be under investigation again, but looking at it from that angle, it's debatable, but see what our race director thinks of that, as we see Stefanko chasing the Great Dane Dennis Lind through Acqua Minerale. Quite a lot of rotation on that McLaren as it seems.
I think some would call that a bit of sliding and over rotation. Lind,
he knows what he's doing.
Hanging the back out there, but he's doing a good job there in 3rd place, considering he hasn't, at least for SimRacing.Club, hasn't done too much sim racing in the last month or so. And I did see he was saying in the Discord that he's had a couple of PC issues that he's had to fix as well. So it's good that he is there in 3rd place, but he is letting the 2 leaders of Simoncic and Brzezinski get away a little bit, as we're seeing Nico Barkley here potentially a little bit further down than what he would have thought.
Brzezinski might have made a mistake, because the gap went to 0.02 of a second. Well, it was like 0.3 of a second to 200ths of a second, and now that gap's over 1 second. So I think Brzezinski might have overcooked it going into one of the chicanes.
Yeah, he might have, just because Simoncic's got a somewhat comfortable lead at the moment of about a second, but he's certainly keeping him calm. And remember, that 22 of Brzezinski, that is their first race of the season, as they, for various reasons, missed the first 2 races. Here at race 3 is their first time out. Obviously, they've got their sister car, as we see on screen, with Martin Stefanko, and he is all over the back of Dennis Lind. Had a half look into turn 2 on this lap, but it looked like he was almost saving saving a little bit. As all, Francesconi has got another penalty, so I wonder which that is for, whether that is for the...
It was signed by Live Steward, as it's come through the in-game chat.
That could be either for that spin, or obviously the pit lane infringement as well. We will
Penalty 7 code 80, there it goes.
Yeah, so he might get a second one then. As De Crop is now getting really close to Nico Barkley, actually. Nico Barkley, interestingly, starting the car this time around. In previous races, it's been Borja Milan to start that car. Then Nico's got in the car in the 3rd stint, but they've decided to do it the other way around in the number 3 this time, as De Crop is getting really close in that Bentley. And is he going to have a look down the inside of Ravazza? He's not quite close enough. He's sort of thought about it with his body language, but he's just going to sit behind the fellow big boy BMW just ahead of him.
And sometimes the best way to defend is to not actually defend, as Nico Barkley is just basically keeping the car where he would normally put it, and sort of say to Mathieu De Crop, right, if you're going to go around me, go around me.
It's obviously the fastest way around the track is on the racing line as well, so if you can keep your car there as well. We have Remco Major here looking down the inside potential of Nick De Silva. Actually, that's the other way around. Nick De Silva has made that position on Remco. So the undercover Bentley going down there into 11th place. So De Silva making positions. That's Mark Veit just behind him as well. So good overtake there from the number 93 around the outside into turn 1, although Major is trying to hold on. He's going to go around the outside. Let's go dive on the inside of Tozer. That's going to be a little bit of contact potentially at the apex, but I think he just about got his Bentley out of the way. But that was a nice move there. Remco Major down to 11th place, although he's now under attack from Mark Veit.
Yeah, Mark Veit having a look towards Piratella. It's not really... Francesconi's got another penalty. There we go. That'll be for the contact at Tamburello. But I was going to say, Piratella's one of those corners where you have to be alongside the guy before you throw it in. Okay, that's why that happened. Oh! Ooh.
Yeah, a bit of contact there on the apex. Nick De Silva saw an opportunity, although that actually potentially helped him, because that would have slowed down Major a little bit on this straight. And Nick De Silva going to the right-hand side as he comes through turn 19 into turn number 1. and then obviously eventually made that position stick. But Mark White here for Scuderia Bozelli isn't giving this one up in that Corvette. He's right on the back of that Bentley and might be able to do the same as it seems Major has touched the gravel once again there, coming from rFactor, and that's given Mark White a really good exit, as I think the Speedy Mite of Nick De Silva had a bit of a struggle getting away as well, that which held up Major a little bit. So now Mark White is trying to get into the slipstream, but actually the slipstream is pulling that Bentley along nicely. However, Mark's going to keep it on the inside through turn number 1. He's going to have to do an outbraking maneuver into turn 2. Who is stronger on the brakes? It looked like Major is, and he keeps that position.
Are we calling that kick turn 1, are we? Okay.
It's on the track map. I'm just looking at the track map.
If it can be taken flat out, it's not a corner. I was seeing on my other screen that Dennis Lind and Martin Stefanko are having a bit of a ding-dong battle towards Tamburello, as we now have the train that is forming behind Dennis Lind that contains, amongst others, Antonovsky and Nico Barclay as they go through Piratella.
And these guys are staying so close together. Potentially is Dennis Lind holding them up a tiny bit, as we see Stefanko here. What is he going to do coming down into turn number 2? He's going to go around the outside of Dennis Lind, but Dennis Lind massively better on the brakes there. I wonder if Stefanko is actually almost doing this on purpose to do a bit of fuel saving, because I saw earlier he was lifting out when in the slipstream.
I was about to say something, I almost drowned in drink, but yeah, save that little bit of extra fuel, then you're not filling up as much in the pit stops. I don't think you'll be able to get an extra lap out of it, but then again, these drivers are better than I am.
Yeah, these guys have done a lot of laps in these GT3 cars. All these guys towards the front of the field have all done the rFactor 2 GT Pro or GT Challenge series, so they know what these GT3 cars are like. And obviously, with it being a 3-hour race, as we mentioned earlier, you're looking at pretty much 3 one-hour stints. But obviously, if you can go longer into the next hour, that will mean your final pit stop isn't going to be 1 hour of fuel. Oh, so Evolution gets spun around there in the background by Nico Barclay. Hard to see exactly whose fault that was. We only called the end of that, but Bok now has dropped down into 12th place. He was doing such a good job there, keeping up in that front field, that front group that is forming behind Dennis Lind, but he's now down into 12th place, and he's going to have to do a lot of work here as Cameron Sansana gets past him as well, so he goes down into 13th place. But there was certainly some issue there coming into turn 2, and that has broken up this front group just a little bit, with De Krop and Barclay dropping off the back of Andonovsky now. And Evolution won't be too happy with that, because they're currently sitting in 4th place in the standings.
This is Leon Bock and Henry Sinnick heading through Acqua Minerale. Everybody seems to manage to keep it nice and tidy through there. It's one of the trickier corners here at Imola.
So De Krop now's got quite a bit of clean air ahead of him before we get to Andonovsky in the number 78 Pinson Drillers eSports car. So if he can fill up those 3 seconds and get back onto the back of this little train for 3rd place, then I think that's going to do him a world of wonders. He was saying before this race to Sean Jacobs, the director of this series, about the Bentley was looking actually pretty good on the old BOP. So now Leon Bock, he's going to be dived down the inside by Drillers, and then Nico Barclay comes out of nowhere quite late.
That's naughty.
I think Bock was maybe letting the Drillers car through there potentially, which is why there was such a speed difference, because I doubt Barclay would have been that late as all. As we can jump back, there's been an issue with De Krop in turn 1, and Nico Barclay again live. I thought I see the replay on my other screen, but no, Nico Barclay is around
in the gravel.
Turn number 2, and he's now gone down into this battle just behind Leon Bock there. So Leon Bock's moved up back into 11th place, with De Krop in 10th, and now Nico Barclay is down in 15th place. So another incident 1 lap later in turn 2 as well.
Yeah, it seems like impatience is getting to people. If you've been stuck behind a driver for a long time, you want to get past. But probably have to see a replay of that. It's easy to make accusations, but still, Dennis Lee managed to keep Martin Stefanko's BMW in behind him. But it's just dropping further and further away from the 2 in front, as we see a replay here.
So we're going to see Barclay go round the outside. De Krop is going to, I'm assuming, going to keep his nose in there. Hits that yellow anti-cut, bops him just a few more centimetres to the right, and a bit of contact there between the 2. That's quite, yeah, it is quite a little bit of a difficult one to judge because Jacob still had sort of the front of his car there, but I don't know if that was really enough to entitle him to that move. It doesn't look like Barkley squeezed him too much. But yeah, not the nicest thing, as they've both dropped down, which has really opened up this top battle quite a lot. It now means that these three cars of Dennis Lynch, Stefanko and Andonovski have sort of pulled away a little bit. They've got quite a big gap behind them to Georgi Nedev in 6th place. And we've actually got this big battle now forming for 13th place with Henry Sinek. The other driller's car is obviously struggling a little bit down in 13th place. He's about to get overtaken by Daniel Silva coming towards turn number 2. And obviously Nico Barkley is getting involved there as well. So quite a few of these top names are struggling a little bit. With Sinek and Barkley down there in 14th and 15th, Bock in 11th, to Krop in 10th place. This is quite important for the championship as well, because these good teams that are struggling a little bit, if they can't improve from these positions, then that is going to give the top teams
there we go. That's a free position.
Jump. Yeah, as Henry Sinek loses another position. So he's obviously struggling a bit today because he qualified in about 7th position.
Well, this happened at Silverstone as well, didn't it? The drillers' cars were doing okay at the start, and then they just started sliding backwards.
Yeah.
As I think that was just getting too much on the inside there. So that'll be down to Sean Jacobs, race director, to see what he does about that one. But I don't think he will.
And one gap to keep your eye on is this gap between Dennis Lynn and Jakub Brzezinski in 2nd place for Williams and Nitovelix. It is now up to over 4 seconds between 2nd and 3rd place, which is well, it's a long way. Let's put it that way, especially considering we're only coming to finish the 10th lap of the race. But that little mistake there by Dennis Lind might give an opportunity for Stefanko here to get an overtake coming down into turn 2. Although, is he going to sit behind and save a bit of fuel, or is he once again going to go to the outside and try and outbrake Dennis Lind? We'll have to see how that comes to the braking zone. Yeah, it seems Stefanko is just sitting behind. It seems he's happy sitting behind despite his teammate getting away ahead.
Lap traffic already, is this?
It is. That is the ground effect car, I believe, which is Jean-Paul Vanel. As we see a replay here, Dennis Lind, he's going to go a little bit wide. Maybe the tiniest bit of dirty air from Jean-Paul Vanel as well. Just not helping that, or just a visual distraction at least. As we now see him coming up into Piratella with Stefanko all over the back of him. But we do have that ground effect car, the number 72, right ahead of them.
Seems like Dennis Lind's, I wouldn't say struggling to catch that slower McLaren in front of him, but maybe he's just thinking, save me a bit of fuel at the same time, won't he?
Yeah, I mean, for now, the distance that he's at is quite nice. If he gets any closer, he is going to start struggling with the dirty air in the corners. Once you get to sort of, half a second or so, doesn't help. But you can see through these they're actually quite fast corners, these two Ravazzas at the end of the lap.
Deceptively quick.
Just, struggling a little bit there, and definitely a lot quicker down Vanel. And Vanel now should pull over to probably the right-hand side of the track and let them go down the left-hand side to have the racing line, which he has done. Will Stefanko get past as well? Hopefully he will, to not break up this battle. And Andonovski is probably going to send it down the inside, which he has. And he's only just about made that corner with Stefanko. Mathieu de Krop has DNF from the race with a blown engine. Only on the 11th lap of the race. So de Krop's race goes from bad to worse there, as he was already quite far down the grid as we jump to Mior. And Veit still battling out here for 11th place.
Yeah, Mark Veit having a sniff towards Villeneuve, but that first left-hander into Villeneuve is very, very quick. And then you sort of slow it in for the second part, and then you have to boot it out the other side towards Tozer. But there's some of these angles that you can't actually see that Callaway because of how big that Bentley is.
Yeah, people talk about the BMWs, especially the M8 being a big boy, but the Bentley is certainly a contender for that as well. So Caspian Motorsports here coming in very quick into Acqua Minerale, going out wide, and then flying Goat in the background as well, going even more wide in their Mercedes AMG. So yeah, that is certainly a difficult corner because the little kink going into it just makes you want to take speed, but obviously
You got to slow it up,
yeah,
yeah.
you can then have issues slowing it down. So yeah, hopefully not too many people get cut tracks, as they will obviously add up. I believe they are allowed 4 cut track warnings, and then the 5th one is where you get a drive-through penalty. So obviously over 3 hours, that isn't actually too many times with the amount of corners that you're doing here.
Yeah, it's 4 cuts, so the 5th one is the penalty, but then that resets, so you get another 4 and then a 5th after that.
Will Stefanko look for the overtake this time? No, he's definitely lifting off there through turn 1. So very interesting that he seems happy, but something that Stefanko has done well with his teammate Peter Brolak this season is they have done the strategy pretty well, as they have generally struggled a little bit in terms of fighting for the lead in qualifying. So here, Mathieu de Crop, yeah, just on the downshifts. On the downshifts coming into rFactor, way too fast with the downshifts, would have over-revved the engine. And that is, to be honest, that is very easy to do. All drivers here do have that. It's not just a thing of the Bentley or a thing of Mathieu. It's certainly something you can do very easily on these GT3 cars. You've got to be very careful with the RPMs.
Who is it for Redline that did it in GT Pro? Or it happened recently in
Ziggy.
It's Kevin Ziggy, yeah.
Yeah, he races for Redline GT Pro. Yeah, it's very easily done. And I don't know if it was something due to the recent GT3 update a couple of months ago, but it certainly seems more common now since this season started. So, I mean, in some ways it's a good thing because it sort of limits your ability to abuse that, because obviously engine braking adds to your braking performance, so you can brake later. So it is something that you do have to think about, which is pretty good. Obviously, these engines can last 24 hours. So to blow it in only like 20 minutes is quite a lot. So now is Stefanko going to finally make the overtake? He's pulled right to the outside of Dennis Lind, as we've seen, but that's sort of to get away from Antonovsky. But is he going to finally fight it around the outside? Yes, he sort of is, but he actually left it a little bit too late. So he's gone off wide, and this is going to give Timo round the outside. That is going to be a very difficult overtake, but he's made it stick there for 4th place. So Stefanko really misjudged that. Coming into turn 2, he left it way too late to back out of it, and as a result of that has lost that position to Antonovsky. But it looks like he's going to fight back here into Toza, although not quite for an overtaking attempt.
That might give Dennis Lind a bit of time to pull away slightly, and this is the replay here. Just forced him onto those sausage curves, that unsettled the car. It's allowed Timo to just swing around the outside of that little left-hand kick that brings you back to where the track used to go, and he's now ahead.
And unfortunately, they're also now up to over 8 seconds behind Brzezinski. So I think that's why Stefanko finally went to make that overtake, but he misjudged it. Because by the time he was backing out, he was sort of losing himself time. He should have done what he did before, where he backed out well before the braking zone so he could come in nicely. As Mark Veit here getting very close and a little bit twitchy to Undercover Sim Racing, and now Evolution Motorsports with Leon Bock is going to be getting very close. Leon obviously trying to make some positions up after that little spin earlier with Nico Buckley. Right here, getting very close, but also getting close is Martin Stefanko on the back of Antonovsky as we come towards turn number 1. He's going to have to go around the outside. Last time we saw he couldn't outbrake Dennis Lind, but can he outbrake Antonovsky into turn number 2? It seems that maybe he just about can. We couldn't see actually where Antonovsky went from that camera, but there he is. And there he has that position back. But also, Mark Veit is going to be trying to getting around the outside of Undercover Remco Major into turn 2, but he can't get that overtaking maneuver. So we saw Stefanko got past, but Veit couldn't on this occasion.
Yeah, the Undercover car sort of two-wheeling it through the first chicane, using those sausage curves. They seem to have got the suspension set just right, or the Bentley is just that big. It handles them a bit better. You can see behind the Evolution car, sort of kicking up a bit of dust as it got a bit leery on the exit. And now here comes Stefanko. This is a replay, sorry, of Stefanko's move on Antonovsky. Managing to keep it off the sausage curves this time. A little bit of contact, actually.
Yeah, there's a little bit sort of naughty, pushing him out a little bit on the exit there, but he made that move back up into 4th place. But all that battling has just lost them even more time to Brzezinski in 2nd place. So they've got to be careful that they don't do this too much, as we now see Nico Barkley for Juanico. He is getting on the back of Leon Bock once again. So we've got a nice little battle forming here for 8th place, as Mark Veit still can't get past Remco Major here for 8th place in this little battle that goes all the way down to 11th.
That battle's allowed Desno to pull about a second over the cars in 4th and 5th. Veit's struggling to get past this undercover car currently.
Veit here getting the slipstream, and it seems that it's very easy to defend the inside here in turn number 1, which makes it so difficult to go to the to cross over back to the inside for turn 2. As with the slipstream, naturally your overspeed takes you to the outside, so quite difficult to make an overtake. But we have Christian Muscala there going around the outside of Henry Sinnock. That is something that you don't necessarily see every day. Henry's obviously struggling quite a bit here. It's absolute motorsport. We're trying to get involved, but we got Core round here in turn 2, so that's possibly the 4th or 5th car we've seen spun around here at this part of the track.
I don't know if that was just the angle of the camera. It looked like he was driving straight into oncoming traffic there, but he's I think he's got that out of the way. The yellow flags are definitely clear, so great battle for 8th position. We've got 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th involved.
Yeah, it's going very good indeed, and it seems that in terms of the pace, they're sort of in reverse order as well, so hopefully this should keep this battle going nicely. Although Leon Bock, they're getting a bit wiggly on the exit of Aqua Minerale, which is not what we want to do. But we also have this 4-5-way battle for 13th down to 17th place as well, as Henry Sinnock trying to go on the grass to get past Muscala.
It's going to work.
Motorsport getting involved as well, and now Henry Sinnock goes really late on the brakes. Christian holds it around the outside of Variante Auto, and that is going to give Absolute Motorsport, who is being driven by a River. Christian River getting involved as well. That was amazing by Muscala, as we have a little bit of bumping there between the 2 Corvettes coming down to rFactor. We also have the Bentley in behind of Satellite, and Muscala now is going to have a bit of contact on the inside of rFactor, as River gets past 2 cars in the space of 2 corners, but not without some contact.
Yeah, I think the contact was a bit unnecessary, but he's through, as the battle between the undercover sim racing car and Scuderia Basilia really heats up through Tamburello. And here we go again.
Raging on as we come down into turn number 2. Muscala, a little bit of contact there with Christian River. Double Christian action here, as we've all had a bit of a... I think someone maybe has gone off there, because it seems that Mark Veit has now gone down to the back of this battle. Both Bock and Barkley are through for Evolution, and Juanico up there for 9th and 10th place. So these guys just don't stop battling, even though they've obviously still got plenty of the race left. They're trying to get these positions as early as possible. And even though they're obviously at the point where the tyres are going to be starting to drop off a little bit as we get halfway into the stint, they're still going on, still raging on, trying to get these positions. And it's good to see that there's a couple of little battles are forming up and down the field as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bock is going to be getting past this Bentley pretty soon, as well as Nico Barkley.
This is a replay of Mark Veit's apologies for pronunciation. There goes the undercover car. Tries to swing it back in from the outside to get the run towards Villeneuve. Gets squeezed a little bit, but it's all fair. There's a little bit of contact into the first part of Villeneuve, and then a bit of a payback boff.
Yeah, he got hit from behind them. That may have been a Bock giving him a little bit of a bump, which meant he went too deep, and then had contact with the Bentley on the second apex. But now Bock is going to be trying to go round the outside of undercover. Nico Barkley is trying to get the double slipstream action here on the outside of turn 2. Bock makes it through, but Barkley has to stay behind for another lap as the 27 gets released there into 8th place, and the about 7-second gap that he's got ahead of him.
Yeah, the clean air will probably do some good. Get his head down, putting some good laps. And hopefully when the pit stop cycle comes around, he'll be able to maintain that 8th position when he comes back out.
means this battle is not over. As Nico Barkley is going to be trying to get the slipstream now on Remco Major up into Piratella. That is not often where you see an overtake, and that is why he is backed out of that one for 8th or 9th place, I should say. As it seems that Leon Bock is getting away a little bit in that 8th place. And Mark Veit has had some more issues behind as well, as Daniel Silva has got up into 11th place. So Veit has dropped down again into that 12th place, which is going to be soon under attack as well from a couple of the cars behind, with that battle that we saw with the two Christians of River and Muscala. But we now see Dennis Lind battling with Martin Stefanko coming down the pit straight, and for once Martin Stefanko is on the left hand side and might be able to finally get ahead of Dennis Lind, but they're going to be fighting this all the way down into turn number 2. But Lind knows when to pull out, and he has done so correctly, which gives him a good run actually coming up to the Villeneuve chicane. He's going to get himself down the inside, which will be almost the racing line as well if he can outbrake Martin Stefanko. But Stefanko holds it around the outside nicely and is going to keep that position. They switch back once again, so Lind's going to have to go around the outside of Tozer, which is not the easiest thing in the world, but gets it on the brakes. And with a tiny bit of bump there from Stefanko, Lind is back up into 3rd place.
That's fantastic racing from Dennis Lind. That move into the first part of Villeneuve, just knowing where that car was, to make sure it didn't enter both in the gravel. That
overtake in Tozer started back at turn 2 when he backed out at the right time, which gave him the run all the way through the next couple of corners. He could do the switchbacks, which is obviously what Martin Stefanko did not very well a couple of laps ago when he got overtaken by Antonovsky. As we see here, Barkley on the outside of Remco Major, so finally the Juanico car getting that position. And do they hold it into turn 2 and 3? Yes, they do. So Nico Barkley there up into 9th place, as Stefanko once again, after over 30 minutes of racing, is still behind Dennis Lind and still trying to get past in that number 23 Williams Esports Ben Q machine. And here comes another attempt. Obviously, turn number 2 is the best overtaking opportunity on the track due to this incredibly long pit straight we have now that we've removed that chicane at turn 19. And now Stefanko goes around the outside of turn number 1. Can he finally make it on the brakes? We know that Lind is very good on the brakes, and he manages to defend once again. But is Stefanko going to do the little switchback this time, which he might do actually, because Lind's going to run a little bit wide there, so Stefanko now has the inside for the Villeneuve chicane, and he's going to have to do what Lind did in reverse on the last lap, but he doesn't keep it on the inside, so he doesn't have such a good run here coming up into Tozer corner. So who can late the breakers here in Tozer? Stefanko going all around the outside, but he's on the marbles, so he's lost a bit of grip, and now Andonovsky is going to be getting up the inside of Piratella. You really have to make your overtakes move, otherwise you're going to be losing a position potentially. Who is later on the brakes into Piratella? It's not really a braking zone, but Andonovsky makes that position. So once again, Stefanko trying to overtake Lind gets overtaken himself by Andonovsky, and he's going to have to do all that work once again. Although Timo runs a little bit wide there, but manages to keep that position. So Stefanko needs to judge it just a tiny bit better in that first sector, because it seems he's not quite so strong there compared to the other guys around him.
Yeah, the McLaren isn't the favoured car for the BOP. The Callaway by far is a very popular car in GT Challenge and GT Pro, but Dennis Lind somehow making it work. And then again, he is a professional racing driver, so wouldn't put it past him.
That is the reason why he has a Lamborghini contract and other drivers do not. But yeah, he's obviously showing his class there, although all this batting has led that front battle to get quite big, to be honest. In only half a stint, they've got 15 seconds to the leaders, which is not ideal. As we see Matthew Fennell now getting behind Henry Sinnock, who's dropped down once again into 17th place. I'm very surprised. If you remember back at the first race of the season in Silverstone, drillers were 1 and 3 on the grid. And just like those races, they dropped back a little bit in the actual race compared to qualifying. And it seems that Henry's really struggling here in 17th. I haven't seen if he's actually got damage or anything. If anyone knows that, then obviously do let us know. But we haven't seen that, so I think he might just be struggling a little bit. As we've turned our attention to this battle with Stefanko once again, can he finally make this work? He needs to do it quite smartly because he's now going to get past 2 drivers rather than just one. But he certainly has the pace, just a tiny bit more racecraft, and he'll be able to get past.
Just saying that's the Go Team car, or is that a lapped Nita Velux? I can't tell.
You mean just behind them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is actually Go Team Racing. There is a lap car, I believe, in between them of the other Knight of Alex, but
Yeah,
the Go Team Racing is closing in on this battle, actually. With the amount of time that they've been battling and therefore losing, they are actually getting very close. That is Max Barkley, who obviously lost his rear wing on that opening lap exchange. And yeah, Nedev is coming towards these guys. They're battling for the podium. If they do not sort of sort themselves out a little bit in terms of the amount of time that they are losing. And Go Team Racing are sitting 5th in the standings on 52 points, only 10 points behind Evolution Motorsport. So they are still fighting for good position, as he's actually got past the Knight of Alex car now. So he's only about 3 seconds behind Stefanko, as we see Henry Cynic here. He is going to be battling, it looks like, with one of the Williams cars here. But I do wonder if this is actually
not anymore.
No, so this is where he lost his time in the first. So that was way back earlier in the race. That's why he was behind the Williams car in the dirty air, loses the rear wing. So he will definitely have some damage from that. So that explains the pace difference. So good work there from Ruben, our wonderful broadcast director, who to find that replay. Because that we didn't see that, so that now makes sense as to why Henry is struggling a bit, because he will have a lot of damage there, as well as obviously losing the places from the spin itself, as he's now dropping down to 19th place on your standings, 57 seconds off the lead. That is not where you would expect that team at all.
So what can Stefanko do coming out of the final corner here? I think Andonovski is closer to Lynn than Stefanko is to Andonovski here. Meanwhile, at the top right hand of your screen, Henry Cynic chasing down the Speedy Mike car. There's battles everywhere. I don't know what to be looking at right now.
Yes,
Lynn covers it quite well into Tamburella here.
It's really good to see that there's battles up and down the field. Everyone's fighting for their own respective position. But Lynn doing a really, really good job here to hold on to this podium position for Knight of Velux. And as we said earlier, it's great to see him back. But as we're getting to this point in the stint, we're about 2/3 of the way through this first stint, we've got to see drivers going to start thinking about their strategy and what they're going to do. Are they going to double stint, or are they going to swap drivers? But we will see very soon, as Capusta now going around the outside of Cameron Sansano into turn number 2. Who is going to break the latest? It is Sansano, but he goes too late, actually. Now Capusta's got an opportunity to come back. He's going to be on the inside for turn number 4. A little bit of a bump there, actually, as Sansano sort of holds it. As all, who is that? Henry Cynic losing his front wheel. He will be out of this race.
Where was that? That was in sector 1. So that was at Tamburella, I'm guessing.
Yeah, another spin there. Turn 2 is causing a few issues for a number of drivers, as that 77 is now going to be out of this race. Henry Cynic there dropping down. That is such a shame for that car. They'll be very disappointed, as qualifying definitely showed that they've got some pace. But here we see he's going to be... What is...
Way too hot.
That was himself. Interesting. That was himself just going way too fast into the first sequence of corners. And I don't know if that was some sort of failure or something. It just looked like the car wasn't slowing down. And that has obviously led to him DNFing from the race in the number 77, which is going to be very disappointing for them, as their sister car is up here in 4th place, fighting for this podium. But just like Stefanko, can't quite get past Dennis Lynn. So Dennis either doing a good job, or that 720 is very good in a straight line.
I think it might be a bit of both.
And they come through Toza once again. And it's interesting that Stefanko hasn't been able to come and reignite this battle. He sort of sat behind as he Capesta once again coming down the inside of River for Absolute Motorsport. Can he make that one work, or no? He's gonna have to back out of that one and sit behind for now for that battle in 14th place. As still got the two Christians there with Muscala in 13th and River in 14th. So here's Henry Cynic. He just loses the rear end. Unfortunately, I didn't quite see where it was that he started braking, but way too fast in there. And obviously then as he turned in, the rear was like, nope, I'm not going to do that. And that is now that 77 out of the race, a lap or two ago. And we now have Andonovski on the inside of the final corner for Dennis Lind. Dennis Lind must have made a bit of a mistake there in the first rFactor, but that could give Stefanko a good slipstream here, down coming through turn 19 into turn number 1, and then eventually into turn number 2. But interestingly, 3 different chassis here, seeing which one is better in a straight line. Andonovski going to switch to the inside. Dennis Lind is wise to that, covers it off well, and manages to keep his 3rd place there. But Stefanko is going to get a little bit of a run here on Andonovski. But is it enough to overtake into Villeneuve? I don't think it's going to be just enough this lap. But this battle is certainly heating up if Andonovski is going to be trying some interesting moves like that.
It's going to be who makes a mistake first, isn't it, with these 3? As the Go Team car is there in the background, just waiting, as we've got a yellow in Sector 3, but it's now been cleared. The top 28 still on the lead lap. Probably be around 20 minutes or so before the first pit stop start happening.
Yeah, the pit stop phase is going to be quite interesting to who is going to stay in the car and who's going to swap drivers. And for those staying in the car, who is going to double stint? Because that could potentially be an option. It's not necessarily the best option, but it's certainly an option that we have seen a couple of teams try over the years. Not necessarily because it's the quickest in terms of lap time, but just you simply don't lose the time that it takes to change the tyres. So I have to see when that comes around to the first set of pit stops. We're still a little bit of a way from that happening, as we're seeing this battle for P3 go on once again. It's been going on for 41.5 minutes, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon, with Dennis Lind doing a really good job. Although the battle, the time ahead of him has now gone up to over 15 seconds.
Simic ever so slightly pulling away from Brzezinski, as we see Rob Moore going for a bit of a spinala.
Fortunately, gets back on the track nicely. Only probably about 2, maybe 3 seconds lost there for Rob. But just locking the rears a little bit. Probably with too much engine braking, too quick downshifts, as we saw De Krop do earlier, blowing his engine. You've got to be a little bit careful with that. Obviously, these GT3 cars do have ABS and traction control that you can adjust the settings to. As you now see Fennell getting a bit of a slipstream here on Kesken, coming into turn number 2, but can't quite overtake or even think about an overtake. But Kesken's got in too far, which means through turn 4, Fennell's going to get a really good switch back here. Well, actually, that 720S really picked up out of that corner. Maybe the Porsche there struggling a little bit for the old acceleration and straight line speed. They couldn't quite come back. That looked like it was going to be a good opportunity, but it didn't really rise to anything in the end, as Capista has he's actually finally got past River there. So Capista has got himself up into 14th place, as Christian River going down into 15th. As we come on to the end of lap 26 for these drivers. So we're going on to the 27th lap of the race. Dennis Lind still holding on for this 3rd place. Andonovski has got a decent slipstream here, but it looks like he's going to have to be a little bit of a late one coming to turn 2 if he wants to make it work on this lap. And he's actually half thought about it. He was braking quite late, but he managed to back out of that one.
Seemed a bit squiffy on the old sausage curls there, while the Bentley that we saw earlier seems to just fly over them no problem. So don't know if that's how the physics are on the car. Oh, here we go. This is what I was on about. But through that's Tamburello, so the first chicane. Went a bit wide there, so he's just got the extra bit of speed. Just watch him throw it over the sausage curbs. Completely stable.
Yeah, and you can do that if you hit them correctly, and obviously you have to set up your car correctly to allow for that as well. Obviously, the GT3s in general being quite a heavy car, you generally run a little bit softer to allow for that, and that can obviously help with the curbs as well. If you get the damping just tweaked as much as you can. But someone who's doing that pretty well so far is Dennis Lind, and it seems that this battle has come a little less aggressive for this third place. It seems that they're sort of accepting that Dennis is doing a really good job. And maybe during the pit stop sequence, they can try and make some overtakes work, as we're seeing Alice Plever in the top right corner of your screen, currently in 19th position for 14. Oh, it's Max Fennell on the inside for Echo Minerale. They go side by side with almost no contact for 18th place with Beto Bayo there. And that is not the best exit for Fennell, who's now been overtaken by Plever that we're just on board with. So Fennell looks like he might have got an overtake, but instead he's actually lost a place to another BMW with Beto Bayo getting past him.
Yeah, Aqua Minerale, it's another one of those corners where the move has to be 130% on for you to get the car up there, but, you know, who dares wins and all that.
Indeed, certainly around this track. But what I'm finding really interesting with this track is how a lot more than other tracks that we've been to is because after turn 1, for instance, or turn 2, I should say, there's quite a long sequence of corners. It means you can really benefit if you take the right racing line just in turn 2, and that allows you to do the various switchbacks to get past. It's quite an interesting way of racing. We're not just seeing slipstream overtakes into turn 2. We are seeing people having to think about their racing lines, and that's sort of going all over the different parts of the track. Actually, is you really have to take the racing line. It seems making small mistakes here and there or small corrections to your racing line to get an overtake really leaves you open to attack from behind. So it's offering some really nice racing here as we are getting towards the end of this first of 3 hours of racing, and it seems like none of these drivers are giving up just yet.
Not at all. I think this one's going to be going on right to the end of the race, as Andonovski still in the slipstream of Dennis Lind. They seem to be dropping Stefanko a tiny bit, but like I say, it's going to be the first one to make a mistake that will lose out.
Well, earlier we did say that Stefanko might be saving fuel in the slipstream of Lind because he wasn't really trying to overtake. So maybe he's realised that this overtaking malarkey is not really working out for him. So maybe he's just sitting behind these two because he will obviously be getting a double slipstream as well. So he's looking very good there in 5th place, sitting nicely, and is potentially going to try and work something out on the strategy as well, which is obviously going to be coming into play fairly shortly.
You can see the winners and losers over the course of the race. Eugene Evikescan seems to be the biggest winner. Oh, Andonovski going very wide into Aqua Minerale. He's going to be very careful about that. Up 16 positions since the start of the race.
Indeed, the amount of positions that you can gain and lose are quite remarkable, really. But then obviously being a pretty stacked field with 35 cars, there's obviously loads of positions. 2 winners. There's always a bit of contact there with Pro Sim Tech just turning into Caspian, and he's managed the Caspian actually straightening him out. But I believe that was Beto Bayo there getting involved there with Caspian, with Keskin in the car in 16th place currently. Not the cleanest bit of overtaking we've seen. It looked like he got a good little switchback there coming out of Villeneuve, but then just cut down too much into Toza, I would say.
Just trying to get a better exit of Aqua Minerale to maybe have a go at round 2.
Well, it's actually a Plever who managed to get past Bayo in that as well, with Fennell just behind them. So this battle It's changed order a few times, but they're still going strong here, even though obviously this is the lower end of the points tally. Points do go to 30th position overall. So still some decent points up for grabs here. And we're going to get a replay. Talk us through it, Aiden.
All right, so Keskan looking backwards here. Coming through, Villeneuve gets a bit of a rough exit, bit of a tail whip. And, oh, yeah, the Pro Simtech car just cuts across him. That car's longer than you think.
Yeah, he just came down towards the apex a little bit too quick, and Keskan's actually come into the pit lane. So I wonder if that is for a penalty or if that is for a scheduled pit stop. It's a little bit early, really, for a scheduled pit stop, I would say. Because I don't think you're going to be doing sort of an hour and 5 easily on the fuel tank. So, yeah, but I just wonder if that was scheduled or not, because it seems a little bit early to me. But maybe they at Caspian have thought of something, as we've now seen Bock and Barkley have made their way up to 7th and 8th after dropping down a little bit.
Well, Matthew Fennell almost bought the farm into Tamburello, and Serato almost bought the farm into Villeneuve, so it's all kicking off in those chicanes tonight.
Yeah, it's such a tricky little track for GT3s. Obviously, they're quite, just physically big cars as well. It makes it quite difficult. They're not the easiest, not the most nimblest cars in the world. So often the corners are one line. So it's really proven to be quite a tricky little track, as Nico Barkley now getting the slipstream on Leon Bock. Can the Wanako get past Evolution into turn number 2? It seems like he can, as Leon sort of holds it around the outside, trying to make Nico think about it, but Nico gets past there for 7th place, and 27 drops down, as they will be getting to that lap traffic just ahead of them. But they do have almost 15, sort of 13, 14, 15 seconds to the Go Team Racing, so they can potentially do that over the next 2 hours, but it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world.
No, it looks like Leon Bock just got forced out onto those yellow sausage curves, which you can almost use, in inverted commas, as a weapon when you're overtaking. You force them onto those sausage curves, you unsettle their car, and you just get the better exit onto the next straight, and Boz your uncle, you've got the position.
Indeed, as Stefanko is once again behind these couple of cars, and it seems that their strategy has been now to just calm down a little bit. The gap ahead is fluctuating a little bit with the old real time on the standings, but it is in the region of about 16 seconds at the last sector split point. So yeah, they've lost quite a lot of time, to be honest, and whichever one of these 3 cars comes out ahead at the end of the pit stop phase, I think is going to have a little bit of a difficult time, as Keskan has got a penalty there. He was in the pit lane, so I wonder if that is to do with his pit stop or if that is for track cuts. It might well be for track cuts, as he was actually going through a Variante Alta, which is easy to cut if you're not careful when that came up. So that might be him coming back in, which he is doing straight away, and that is the easiest way of losing time in this race.
Yeah, if it was for speeding in the pit lane or anything else to do with that, it would have been given as he left the pits. So definitely for track limits going over at Variante Alta. There's another car coming to the pit lane. Try to figure out who that is.
Daniel Silva. He's actually got no rear wing.
Oh.
So he has had a spin or a crash somewhere. It's obviously not caused a code 80 or anything. He has seemingly got back fairly easily. And there goes the Caspian, having served the penalty. But it seems Daniel Silva for Pro Simtech has had a little bit of a spin. And maybe we'll get a replay of that one to see what happened, because I didn't catch that myself. But
it must have been recent, because if he'd done that at somewhere like Tamburello, it would have been the whole lap. So he's probably done it at the Rivazzas.
Yeah, interesting to lose your rear wing, actually, because you generally have to go in, obviously, backwards and quite fast. Also, maybe this is actually how Keskan got his penalty, potentially.
Oh, good
obviously,
point.
with going off the track at some point, there might be in a bit of... he's very unlucky there to lose his rear wing. Just didn't quite stop the car in time, but that could be where Keskan got his penalty, jumping over those curbs as well. As you see, a little battle just ahead. Here, this is Dennis Lind and Andonovski. Andonovski is going to go over the gravel, take the position, potentially illegally. There
Give
might
it
have to
back.
be redressed. Which is not the easiest thing to do when Stefanko is all over the back. And Andonovski is also weaving a little bit there. And that is not the cleanest overtake I or anyone else has ever seen in our lives. And Lin now diving it down to the inside of Tozer. There's going to be a bit of contact there on the apex. Andonovski is fighting this one very hard as you come up towards Peritella. It's interesting how Stefanko hasn't really got involved, but Andonovski has kept on to that third place.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't be surprised if there's
contentious.
Lin's there diving inside Peritella. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's a call there, maybe for that to be redressed. Didn't quite see whose fault it was at turn 2, but Antonovsky certainly cut over the gravel to keep that position.
Yeah, just seeing what else is going on. So Daniel Silva's had his rear wing repaired. He's back out on track. Yeah, go see what's up with that. Probably get a replay to see a bit more detail.
And Stefanko now only a quarter of a second behind Dennis Lin and closing as we get towards rFactor on this lap. We are getting towards the pit stop sequence as well, and this could be an opportunity for Stefanko to try and get an overtake. They do have a Bentley just ahead of them as well, who's going to be getting involved with the lap traffic. But that is Oliver Newman for Joy Racing. But let's see what happens as we come down the start-finish straight on the 34th lap of this race. Stefanko moving to the outside. He's a little bit too far back. He's not going to be overtaking just yet. And doesn't look like Andonovsky is going to be giving any sort of position back, as the Joy Racing car is going to get involved now. This could get a little bit awkward. Dennis Lind is going to have an opportunity here, because Andonovsky definitely slowed up a little bit as we come into Villeneuve, but all three of them seem to get through there rather nicely, as we had someone just get a penalty as well.
Tuners. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that second name without offending anybody.
Geredelioglu, I think, for Caspian. They've just swapped drivers, but he has got a penalty as they left the pit lane, so he must have sped at some point, or his teammate. So this is it says him, but I believe this was Keskin still in the car. Yeah, he just dived too late, went over the curb, spun around the car.
He was a lap down on him as well. Yeah.
That is... yeah.
So another
Not
penalty.
the best thing to do. As we see Bello here coming in. So this is the other car. So there's two Pro SimTech BMWs. This is the other one, as Russo has just got in the car for Go Team Racing in place of Nedev. Lots of cars coming in the pit lane now. Actually, Nico Barkley's in, Rubic is in for course, and Sarno's in, Plever's in, Francesconi is in. Lots of these drivers, as we are just shy of the 1 hour as well. So I do wonder if any of these drivers will have to do a tiny splash and dash at the end of the race. And maybe this shows you why these guys here in this battle for third place are just saving a tiny bit of fuel to make sure they get past that 1 hour mark, as Dennis Lin's going to dive down the inside of turn 2, but he actually just backs out of that one and decides he's only going to maybe scare Timo a little bit into turn 2.
He's definitely looking all over. I wonder what he's saying behind the wheel. It's like, give me my place back or something along those lines. But Stefanko, I think he's just waiting for them to take each other out at this point.
Yeah, they pretty much are. And they've just got the Wanako car ahead of them, which is Borja Milan. Borja Milan has got into that car, 21st position, 1 lap down to the leaders, and about to be put a lap down by the podium places as well. And that is not where you would expect to see the Wanako cars, but obviously that is how much time you lose by making a pit stop, but also they had lost that time with the spin a bit earlier on as well. Dennis Lind is now, sitting a little bit behind Timo, and not quite enough to make an overtake just yet. As we're getting the next group of people come in, including your race leader, Jene Simoncic, with Brzezinski staying out. So Brzezinski is going to be getting a little bit of an overcut here on Jene.
Jene Simoncic not in the lead of a race. Shocker.
So here's your current standings. Simoncic leading the way from Brzezinski. Andonovsky in third place, as we just saw, getting past Dennis Lind, now in fourth place. Martin Stefanko in fifth. Leon Bock for Evolution in 6th place, Nick De Silva for Speedy Mite in 7th, Christian Muscala for the Scuderia Muscala team in 8th place, Revo Satellite there with Capusta in 9th place, and Fennel for Speedy Mite is in, well, he's now just jumped up to 10th place, but he's in 12th on this screen with just behind Remco Mayor. Then Christian River for Absolute in 13th and Seawolf down in 14th place, as these podium positions are just trying to get past the lapped car now of the Juanaco car. As we're starting to get the pit stops, and this is going to be the interesting point. Who's going to stay out a lap longer? Who's going to go a lap shorter? And who is going to change drivers? Because when you change drivers, you get, it's only about 3 seconds, I think, but you get a tiny bit of time added on. Who is without a rear wing?
A blue and red one. I think it might be. Who is it? Let's have a look.
Oh, Jean-Paul Van Earl is out of the race for ground effects, so maybe he was involved in that one as well.
It's Ferren Grau, Pushrod Racing. So not a red and blue one, a blue, white and orange one.
So
Close
he
enough.
is now in the pit lane to get those repairs. As we hit 2 hours remaining out of the 3 hours of Imola here, and these guys now fighting for the podium are still out there. Andonovski is actually starting to pull away a little bit from Dennis Lynn, so I think Dennis Lynn might be happy if they see the end of this first stint. And they come into the pit lane, but Martin Stefanko stays out. So the two BMWs of Kuba Brzezinski and Martin Stefanko, both also Williams eSport drivers, have stayed out a lap longer than their counterparts. So that would be quite interesting to see if that continues and if that is going to be an advantage to them. But we will see when they come out. So how is Ferren Grau? Lost his rear wing. Coming to Ravazza, big lag spike. Who did he hit there? Because that would have been a massive shunt for them.
I think it was Jean-Paul Van Earl, because it was very McLaren shaped. It just appeared out of nowhere. He got RKO'd.
That was
an insane crash.
That would have been a very high-speed crash, right where Yanis Mincic is now, who has just overtaken Fennel for 6th place, as he has already made his pit stop. And as you can see on the tower, the guys ahead of him are all in the pit lane now. And Yanis Mincic is now continuing onto the start-finish straight. Brzezinski is still stopped, so I think Mincic is going to be easily retaking the lead here. So let's see where he's going to come out. Brzezinski is now out. And Andonovski is... where is he? He's got past both of them. And Andonovski has made his pit stop, hasn't he?
Yes.
So, Andonovski can't have taken tyres.
No.
Surely. How else would he have gained that much time? That is very interesting, because he was obviously many, many seconds off the lead. So surely Andonovski hasn't taken tyres, because I believe he just made his pit stop on that lap we just saw. He came in ahead of Dennis Lind.
Stefanko in.
So if he hasn't taken tyres, then that's going to be very interesting, because he's going to be quite slow this stint. But is he going to be slow enough to, or not slow enough to actually keep that position, as Yanis Mincic is catching up really quickly here? And I would assume he would have taken tyres as well, considering the location on the track. So you're going to just see quite easily what the difference is here between fresh and used tyres.
Well, Stefanko isn't taking tyres either, as we see Andonovski coming out the pit lane here.
And here comes Yoni just behind him. So interesting to see the strategy, because I believe everyone else has taken tyres, at least their respective lap counts and timing counts look correct, as Rob Moore gets a penalty. But can Yanis Mincic retake the net lead of the race? Those just joining, these two have now both taken their pit stop, and Yanis Mincic has fresh tyres, where Andonovski, we believe, does not. So Simčić going to the inside and will retake that lead quite comfortably with the fresh grip that he has. You would expect him to be able to hold on to that. But I am pretty sure that Andonovski didn't change tyres.
He can't have done. He was so far behind.
Stefanko's only just coming out the pit lane now, and I double-checked. Stefanko definitely did get raised up onto the jacks. So it is interesting to see a mixture, but Stefanko has overcut Dennis Lind. Stefanko is now ahead of Dennis Lind here for 4th place. And that means that Dennis Lind has dropped 2 positions over the course of the last few laps, 1 on track and an extra 1 off the track as well. This is why the strategies can be quite interesting in these GT3s, because it seems that everyone does something slightly different and it just completely changes up the order, as Brzezinski will be a little bit confused as to why he's now down in 3rd place. We also have Leon Bocchi stayed in the Evolution Motorsports car. He is now in 7th place, 10 seconds behind the man we're watching, Luigi Russo for Go Team Racing. And they are looking fairly nice in 6th place, as we see Muscala and Plever battling here into turn number 1, with the McLaren managing to hold on to this 13th position, but Plever's trying to get past down into Villeneuve, but it doesn't seem to be possible, as that BMW gets very close through the second part of the corner. He's now going to have to think about a dive into Toza, but Christian blocks him off really nicely for Muscala. And now we're going to look at the switchback coming out of Toza. But I don't think there's going to be quite enough slipstream here up into Piratella, but they're certainly going to be very close. BMW almost touching him, but Christian Muscala holding off that position really well there. He goes a little bit wide, actually, and that means that Plever's going to have to come back on the inside, but has to back out of that as Muscala just drops him off, and it's actually Andrew Muscala who's now in that car. So there was a bit of a driver swap at that last pit stop.
Just trying to see who else has done a driver swap. The 91 Speedy might now has Osayui Emenwen on board. Who else? Andre Muscala has taken over from Christian Muscala. Renko Mayor still in the car. I think all of the top 10 haven't done a driver swap as of yet.
Yes, certainly an interesting one, because as we mentioned before, you get a couple of seconds added for drivers. Well, in simple terms, it takes a couple of seconds longer to do a driver swap, and therefore, if a lot of people are going to be double stinting their drivers, it might make sense to not lose relative track position by doing your driver swap in the first pit stop, because you will lose 3 seconds extra to everyone else. So that's generally why most teams, I assume, will stay. And they will probably have their best driver starting, and therefore you're going to keep your best driver in for 2 stints, and then obviously put your so-called second driver in the last stint, as Plever once again is trying into Toza, but Andre is doing a very good job, but not quite
That's
enough.
That's a good switchback.
That is an unbelievable switchback from Plever, who's going to finally get up the inside of Piratella. As you saw on the last lap, he almost made it, but couldn't quite, as Muscala blocked him off. But now Plever's going to have the inside there for Piratella, and that is position done. 13th place for Core Team Racing.
All it takes is one mistake here, and you can be overtaken in a flash, as Muscala's overdriving the car now. He's gone a bit too deep in towards Acqua Minerale, as we now cut back to Brzezinski and Andonovski. You'd think Brzezinski will make short work of the Corvette here.
Yeah, you'd think so. You can see the time Andonovski's losing. He's already 3.5 seconds, well, 4.5, I should say, behind Simicic, and Brzezinski's caught him very quickly as well. So we will see if this works. If he loses that much time in a lap, like 2-3 seconds a lap, for 30 laps that they do a stint, that's going to be over 90 seconds, or give or take 90 seconds that he's going to lose, which is obviously more than taking tyres, which is only around 35 seconds or something in that region. So I'm going to say that this isn't going to work for Andonovski. He's currently 20 seconds ahead of Stefanko, so we have to see if Stefanko can catch up those 20 seconds. But first, Brzezinski is going to be getting past here. He's going to have the inside for the braking zone into turn number 2 as well, and I don't think Andonovski is going to fight this one too much. But it's interesting that Andonovski was the only person, at least from the top of the field, that didn't change tyres. So he obviously thinks that it is possible, or either that, or he just wants to have a bit of clean air and a bit of track position to try and run his own race.
Interesting to see if it all comes back to them in the final stint. We'll find out in about sort of 48 minutes or so when they come around again. So you now have Francesconi and Piracryl battling through Tamburello here. Francesconi really been in the wars tonight, slowly making his way back up the field. He's having a sniff, but not really in a position to make a move there. Trying to get the better exit out of Villeneuve towards Tosa, but he hasn't. He's stuck behind that BMW a bit longer as Enrico Sancini picks up a penalty.
Yeah, penalty is very easily done, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is another driver getting caught out with the old cut tracks. As we're seeing Francesconi getting a bit of a run here on pit crew, coming into Acqua Minerale, but that is not where you really make an overtake at all. A little bit too hard to overtake into that kink because you don't really brake for it. If anything, you're still a little bit on throttle. And Francesconi obviously having a bit of a mare in the first few laps of this race. He got that stop-go penalty, then he served it. Then he shouldn't have served it. So then he got given it back again, and then he will potentially get another penalty as well for an accident for next race. So not the best day for this Pescara team. But yeah, 26th position. Still a couple of points, but not where they would have wanted to be.
Emenwen and Thierry Bovo having a right ring digger of a battle through Tamburello. It's been swapping positions over the last lap or so. Driving right up each other's diffusers. Great racing between them. It's almost like watching an open wheel event rather than the GT one.
And I still love the headlights on that Mercedes AMG. And the recent update a few months ago to things such as the lighting. I really love those headlights on the Mercedes. Looks really good. Unfortunately, it's not the most well-driven car. I believe we only have one Mercedes in the whole of the GT3 Endurance, but also in the rFactor 2 GT series no one really uses it there, but it's certainly a nice car, despite being a couple of years old now.
I mean, the new one looks like some sort of horror movie character, doesn't it, with the lights? It's, okay. They installed the camera a bit wrong on that car of the TV company, but Emenwen has managed to pull away from the Mercedes behind. He's now chasing down Sramak. It's Prickril and Francesconi still going at it here. Battle for 25th position. Is Francesconi going to send it at the inside of Rivazza? No, it's just letting Prickril know he exists. Can't do it in the second left-hander. That's probably going to... Oh, maybe not, because Prickril's had a bit of a mare on the exit. Francesconi's probably going to have the inside line for Tamburello and probably outbraking there.
And this is Go Team Racing, who are currently in 6th place, or lapping these cars, I should say. So we've got an overtake happening whilst a leader is coming through to lap them as well. So that could have been a very dodgy situation for Go Team Racing, the Swedish team. But they managed to come out of that one. And hopefully Francesconi doesn't start fighting them. And hopefully Russo can get off in the distance, because one of the worst things in the world to see is an accident happening between two people on different laps that aren't actually racing each other technically. But it seems that Francesconi is playing ball and did a good overtake there on pit crew for 25th position. As we mentioned before, doesn't look like it's going to work. So let's see this replay. And this is Russo. He's going to be getting a little bit of a double overtake here on the right-hand side. That is a really nice shot there. Good job by Ruben to get that one. But Russo getting a nice double overtake there to lap those guys. We're going to see a battle here now for 15th place, as Pimenta is trying to get on the back of Ryan Nash. So both of these cars, both Satellite and ProSim Tech, changing their drivers at the first pit stop, which is quite interesting to see. Because obviously there's a couple of ways that you could do your driver swaps, but it seems that this seems to be quite popular, especially for the teams lower down, as Pimet is going to go down the inside of Toza and is going to make that position for 15th place, but it seems that Nash is going to come back on the exit up to Piratella, and he has actually got back just ahead. Bit of contact though as come into Piratella, and in the braking zone it's going to be Pimenta who gets around the outside there for 15th place. But Baden, if you had a team, would you change your drivers in the first stop or in the second stop, do you think?
Ooh. Depends on what the pace difference is between the two of them. If they're equally paced, then they could probably swap them at the first. If the pace difference is quite big, probably half a second to a second a lap, I'd probably have the faster guy in for as long as possible, and then put the slightly slower guy in for the last bit of the race.
Or would you do something where you swap twice, where you put your fastest driver back in for the final hour? Do you think anyone would ever try that?
I think it depends on what the fastest way of going about the race is. Sometimes you can get away with double stinting your tyres, and some tracks you'd have to change tyres every single stop. But yeah, it's a good one. I think it just depends on the track, really. I think for here, I'd probably. Oh, who's that
in the background? That was
you saved me from thinking.
I think that was one of the Seawolf cars. Who is in that car at the moment? Rob Moore is in that car at the moment.
That car is dead. Can you get into the pit lane from there?
He's certain. Always, we've got another car around here in turn number 1. All sorts going on here at the 3 hours of Imola. But I do think if Rob Moore can spin the car around, I don't think he's past the pit entry. So I think he might be able to do it. But it seems he's struggling a little bit to get out. And I do wonder if we're going to get any sort of code 80 or anything, because there was another car spun around as well. But they've probably got back going by this point, because I think they just had a spin, whereas it seems Rob Moore is really struggling to get it in reverse here. And talk us through this, Aidan.
Right, so this is at rFactor. Is he just going to catch it on the exit of... I dropped it on the curb and whack. Oh, that's a double kiss on the wall.
Oh, damage from both ends.
And he's got to get that round and into the pit lane.
Yeah, I'm having a look live. He is still sitting there. He has tried moving, but it seems he
stalled
maybe can't get it into reverse, because he's only ever tried to move forward for the number 47. Fortunately, it is quite a way off the racing line, so it's pretty safe for the other cars, but that isn't the way that the Seawolf team owners would want to see their car.
I think that car might be done if you can't get that moving. I think you'd hit escape at this point.
Yeah, fortunately, he's in a bit of a better position than the car which didn't press escape in the VEC race last week.
Yeah.
If you watched that race, you'd have unfortunately seen a very, very big crash coming out of Aqua Minerale, where a car was stopped, and unfortunately a couple of cars, mainly I think it was the Butler Powell car, couldn't avoid him. But yeah, Rob Moore there pressing escape, DNFing from the race, and that means we've had 5 total DNFs from this race. We had Prodan, who was flipped over at the start, if you remember, De Crop blowing up his engine, Henry Cynic crashing in turn number 2, Jean-Paul Van Erl getting hit by another car who was lagging, and then Rob Moore, who... actually, Rob Moore was the one who lagged into Jean-Paul Van Erl, who's then gone on to have a little bit of a spin himself. Unfortunately, not the best race for those 5 drivers who have unfortunately not been able to get too far into this race, as we are already coming up to the halfway stage.
Yeah, this is where things will start picking up. I think the real race will be in that final hour. But we're at the halfway point now, so it's going to be sort of start to get the head down, start to push that a little bit more, and then absolutely hammer it for the final hour, where it becomes a proper sprint to the end.
So we mentioned obviously the VEC race. They only had their race here last week. So normally the GT3 Endurance runs at the same or similar track 2 weeks after VEC, but because of obviously Christmas and New Year, it's been moved a week early in that cycle. So do you think that has actually maybe helped some teams that drove this track last week? Because obviously they would have already known the track, they just had to get used to a different car.
Yeah, I think so. You'd have an idea of the fuel burn data. You'd have an idea of the tyre wear. And you just got to put it all together. But still, there's been 4 weeks between the two, 3 weeks between the two races. So you can still do either or. But if you've been driving one car then another, then one car, someone else has gone spinning at Tozer.
Who was that? They were a lap down. It is Oliver Newman, the number 99 for Joy Racing. They are not having the best day. Currently down in 28th position, 2 laps down. But they do have Farron Grau for position, only a few seconds behind. So they don't want to be doing too many spins like that. And they also have Caspian not too far behind as well. So yeah, Newman having not the best day there, as he's been in that car from the start, down in 28th place. Now seeing this little bit of a battle, sort of being unhinged a little bit as we have the leaders coming through on these guys. We already had, I think it was Russo getting past these cars. We now have Leon Bock for Evolution coming past these guys, currently in 7th place.
Simičić has a 4-second lead over Brzezinski up front. So it's as you were since the start of the race for them. Andonovski slipping back. Stefanko is about 13 seconds behind Andonovski, trying to get back up there, while Lind is 32.5 seconds off the leaders.
If there are any co-drivers out there watching the stream, if you want to have a little bit of chat, a little bit of an interview, then do jump up to the waiting room, and we'll pull you in and get some questions, because it is always good to see the sort of the team's perspective of these races. It is obviously a team's championship. There's no drivers' championship, which you actually often see in sort of real life endurance races. There's also drivers' championships. So if a certain driver doesn't actually do all of the races, then they might end up actually not being the overall champion, which is a bit of an interesting one. But here it's all about the teams. Doesn't matter which drivers you put in, such as Burst, who you see in the top right with Yannis Simičić. They've swapped around their drivers every single race. It's been a different pair that have been doing the races. And at the end of the day, it's always the teams that are important. So yeah, it would be good to chat with any of the drivers maybe currently not driving, or team managers and such. There's always a good insight to get during these races.
It also puts an end to any speculation that's been going on as well, which can easily happen. But as Yerne clears Andre Mascala and goes on his merry way, drops a little bit of time to Brzezinski in all of that, but I'm sure he'll pull it back.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. Obviously, gaps can fluctuate a little bit as always. Mascala there goes a little bit too wide, and that's going to let Pimenta come past for Pro Simtech up into 14th place. And Mascala there losing a position, as he has done a couple of times so far since getting into the car. And he's going to have Brzezinski coming up behind him very soon as well to come and lap both of these guys. So yeah, Brzezinski is looking pretty good for this second place, and he's definitely not letting Yerne get away too easy for this victory. He's certainly keeping him in check, which is always nice to see, and especially as that is that specific car's first race this season.
Yeah, Scar's not having a nice time at the minute. He's missing apexes all over the place, but so I don't know if he's one of the double stinters in terms of tyres. Actually, I don't think he might be because he took over from Christian, didn't he? Oh, that's a good question. So he's just had another slide through Tamburello.
You did say a few laps ago, maybe Andre is over pushing a little bit, which is a thing. You can over push the car, and I would agree with that. He's sliding
Another slide.
He's sliding it all the way, and he's going to go off. Please don't get involved with Kuba, which he hasn't. So Brzezinski there gives him a lap and says thank you very much. And Brzezinski now only about 3 and a bit seconds behind the leader, and getting easy overtakes like that in traffic is certainly going to be helping him. As we see pit crew here, he's battling with Ferran Grau, but Grau is a lap down, trying to unlap himself. Obviously, Pickrell wants to look at Nelson ahead of him, so this is going to be a little bit awkward for him. But obviously, lapped cars do have the right to unlap themselves. It's not illegal. It's just once they do get ahead, they then need to pull away and get out of the blue flags.
Don't fire it into a tight chicane from way too far back, as we've seen already once tonight. But Oliver Newman has brought the car in. I think it's just a fuel stop. I don't see the car going up on the jacks as of yet.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
After 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So running an interesting fuel strategy, or maybe they've had a couple of issues that we have not seen. But that is a bit of a weird strategy, especially as he's not changing tyres either.
This battle between Nelson and Prickreel is hotting up. Well, I say that as Prickreel has a bit of a wobble out of Aqua Minerale. He's kind of... There's lap traffic behind him, so he should probably just let him through in a minute. Penalty for Ferran Grau.
Yeah, so he's obviously just gone over that Variante outer too much and has given him a penalty, which is not the best thing for that car, because I believe that was a car earlier that had its rear wing off it as well.
That one. Oh, nice.
Your favourite, Aiden.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, Ruben getting some nice little slow-mos there. It's always a good thing to see, especially on this track. As I mentioned in the intro, I really do believe this is one of the highest quality tracks that there are in rFactor 2. It's part of the Razor DLC pack on the DLC store. However, you can also get it as an individual track if you don't want to get any of the other content. But there's a rather good pack of them to get them. But it's really is one of my favourites. Such a iconic track, such a historical track. It's really quite amazing, and good to see that both series of the SimRacing.Club with the GT3 Endurance and VC both come here, because it really is a great track.
Well, the FSR race here was the first open wheel race I ever commentated on, and it was just brilliant watching the cars go flying through half of these corners, sort of millimetres from each other, like we're seeing now. As that's how Ferran Grau picked up the cut track at Variante Alta. Just took way too much of that first right-hander, and he's going to have to bring that through the pit lane.
Whereas Nelson here is getting overtaken by some lapped traffic, I believe. That is Red Dioglu in the Caspian car, unlapping themselves. And Nelson's obviously trying to get on the back of Max Barkley in the other Knight of Velux car. So the other car is up there at the moment, 5th place. What have you seen?
I've just seen it was Ferran Grau going across Variante Alta again. I think he got a bit of a biff from Rafael Zuma in the Blackbirds racing car, and had to go across there.
And they are not on the same lap, so that is Grau unlapping himself again. Unfortunately, it seems with a bit of contact that time round.
So here's the replay of it. Ferran Grau trying to go to the outside for Variante Alta, because why not? And yeah, takes the Joker lap.
Yeah, unfortunately, Joker laps aren't a thing would be an interesting concept actually to add.
Joker lap of the Nordschleife.
Yeah, to add into something. It's certainly an interesting concept for other motorsport series that do use it, but it is obviously a little bit of a gimmick in some ways. But it is always an interesting thing to add in. Well, someone who certainly doesn't need a Joker lap at the moment is Yanni Simčić. He is leading away very comfortably in the number 49 for Burst Esport. Remember, this car is not only your championship leader, but they have arguably comfortably won the first 2 races of the season as well. They didn't, really luck into it as such. They're good strategy, good speed, and they're showing that once again here in the 3rd race of the season. Brzezinski has been a couple of seconds behind the whole race, and it seems about 3-4 seconds is where he's been all of this second stint as well so far, at least in the first half of this second stint. But Simčić is just doing a really, really good job. And considering that they have Jesper Pedersen, I believe, is going to be getting in that burst car, that is obviously not the words that everyone wants to be hearing. However, Brzezinski is going to be handing over to Nikodem Wisniewski, I believe, is his teammate for this race, who is another very quick, one of the quickest on rFactor 2. So I wouldn't be surprised if that battle does go down into the last hour, because the gap is certainly not that big. And talking about not big gaps is also the gap between Andonovski and Stefanko. So we're halfway through the stint, and Stefanko is 2/3 of the way there. So he's about 7 seconds behind, 7-8 seconds behind, and it was about 24 seconds behind. So Stefanko is definitely closing that gap, as Fennell is trying to get close to Plever here, coming through Sector 1.
I think he was just passed by Plever going into Tamburello, and is already losing ground to him. So he might be one of the non-tyre changers.
Indeed, Fennell's actually been involved in the action quite a lot today. And we get a replay here. What is we going to see?
We're going to see Plever in the slipstream of the Porsche at the start-finish straight. And it's going to be easy as you like into Tamburello here. Ooh, yeah, braked way early for that.
I thought he went off track there, but just a little bit of lag. We do actually have someone for an interview. So, and they're actually in a pretty good position. We're speaking to Georgi Nedev, who is driver and team manager of the Go Team Racing car. Currently in 6th place, the number 97 with Luigi Russo. But Georgie, you had a very good first stint there, got your car in a really nice position, and 6th place would be a very nice result for you indeed. How are you looking as we enter the second half of this race? Georgie? Maybe he's not here.
No.
Mm.
He's here, but he's not.
Now, sorry.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry for that. Yeah, sorry for keep you waiting. Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, the first stint was good. We kept it safe, and the other guys had trouble ahead of us. So we got to P6. Luigi is now in the car. All looks good. Strategy-wise, I think we also look good. Wink, wink to the competitors behind us. So yeah, it so far looks good. There's a bit of traffic that's slowing us here and there, but I guess it's the same for everyone. And yeah, we fingers crossed that we finish in that position or higher, and that would be good for our championship ambitions.
Are you worried about Evolution and Wanaka cars catching a little bit behind? Obviously, they were ahead of you initially, but then got issues and went further behind. Do you think they're going to be able to catch you, or are you confident of your pace towards the end of the race?
No, I think we are confident of our pace. We've been trying to manage the gap, so it should be good. Luigi is a good fast driver, so
Is he staying in the car to the end?
I'm not saying.
Well,
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, you keep your secrets. You're doing a very good job at the moment. Obviously, 5th in the standings as well. How do you think your season's going to go? Are you confident of staying towards that top 5 in the championship?
Well, obviously that's the goal. I mean, we have super good competition. The level is extremely high. Both Williams cars and Williams cars, Burst Esports, they are a bit in the league of their own. So our aim is to be the best of the rest, so to say. So we will be quite happy with a top 5 finish, I think, in the end of the season.
Yeah, you're certainly doing a good job, a good step towards that today. So good luck for the remaining hour and a half in this race, and hopefully you can stay in that 6th position. Luigi's doing a good job at the moment.
Thank you very much. Good luck to everybody else also on the track.
All right, see you soon.
Yep.
So there was Georgi Nedev, manager of Go Team Racing, as we see a little bit of replay here, Aidan.
Yeah, I think it's Muscala up ahead, getting very close to another competitor in a straight line, as Andonovski was actually flashing his lights up the pit straight to basically say, "I'm coming, please don't wipe me out," and he's managed to clear one of them at least.
Yeah, Andonovski, I'm not surprised why he's a little bit annoyed by that, because obviously this traffic, since the pit stop, is obviously losing them a little bit of time, and Andonovski is trying to do everything he can to not lose time, having chosen the track position, and so far it's actually working out. Stefanko hasn't creamed up to the back of him, as Mark Veit is around. Cannot see. Oh no, he's not. That is in the pit lane.
That's a pit lane.
I just realised. I just saw the texture on the floor. I was like, he's actually not around. So yeah, he is already in the pit lane, which is a bit interesting. We're now in 24 to go, so it's a little bit early. So we'll be making an official one. Yeah, so he might be doing some damage repairs, as we are. So just in the foreground was Andonovski, and in the background was Stefanko. So Stefanko is certainly getting closer. It's down to about 6 seconds now. So I do believe that Stefanko will close the gap by the end of the stint, in the last 25 minutes of this stint. But will he be able to overtake? And will this actually be a benefit overall for Andonovski? That is what we're going to be finding out in the next, 20 minutes or so. Because if this strategy of staying out on old tyres is going to work, maybe we'll see some people who already swapped drivers try that in the final stint, and doing a double stint in the 2nd and 3rd hour. We will find out very shortly.
I was looking at Russo's 6 seconds behind the Nita Velux car of Dennis Lynn, so 5th place is still a realistic target for them. But I think it's pretty much Burst Esports from Williams, and I got oh dear, I am ill. But the Drillers car holding station in 3rd with just a 5.5 second gap to Stefanko, so it's all to play for the final podium spot.
Yeah, it certainly is, and Stefanko will be very happy if he can get himself onto the podium. He's been trying since the start of the race. At the beginning, he was obviously effectively held up a little bit by Dennis Lind, who didn't quite have the pace of the leaders. And then when he got past, he then got re-overtaken, and then Andonovski got involved, and all sorts happened, and he went down to 5th place. So we've got another replay here of Christopher Whitehouse. What is he going to do?
Good question. Because that's a car that's really been... That's a punt.
That's a big hit. He's lucky to still have his rear wing there.
That's one way of getting out of the way, isn't it?
Yeah, you just saw Yanni Simicic go through in the corner of the picture as well. So that was, as you say, one way to get out of the way for the blue flags. But that is not, for those watching, that is not how you get out blue flags. Slamming on your brakes is not what you want to be doing. As we have a battle here for 23rd position, Thierry Beauvau is holding up a little bit. Pickbull, who must have now made Beauvau goes straight over the chicane, and he's going to have to be careful with his rejoin, but he's lost so much time that he's lost those positions. Anyway, as we now have Gerardioglu coming past into the Villeneuve chicane, diving it down the inside as well, but that is a lapped position. The Bovo has only lost, I think, 2 places in the grand scheme of things with that, as now Max Barkley is on the back of pit crew, and we're going to see another replay.
Yeah, this is Alice Clever coming up to... He's hammered the brakes there, hasn't he?
Yeah.
That's almost a I don't know the track move.
Yeah, I'm sure that will go down as unpredictable driving, or something along the lines to that. Is Max Barkley getting very sideways there on the exit. That is not what you want to be doing when you are trying to overtake the car ahead of you. But he has not really lost too much time to Clever, Pickerel, just not a lot of momentum as we come towards the Sector 3 on this lap. And he will now be trying to get a bit of a run coming through the Ravatsism. What is going to happen with this one? Max Barkley must have been a bit earlier on this lap.
This is into Acqua Minerale. Ooh. Tail whip.
He's obviously pushing a little bit too much that time, and as you can see, he's going to get the slipstream, but he's not going to be quite enough to get any sort of overlap. Although Pickerel takes a really interesting line there coming into turn 2 and 3, and as we come through turn 4, Max Barkley is going to have a bit of a run here coming up to the Villeneuve chicane of 5 and 6, and we've seen quite a few overtakes there, but Max decides to pull out of that one, as that is not really the safest place to make an overtake.
Yeah, it's like a few corners around here. It's one of those you need to know it's on. Just play it safe. There's no point in trying anything crazy just yet, as that's the speedy motor car flashing to let them know he's there. I think that might be the car currently in 9th place. That might be Nick De Silva coming up behind them. And yellow is sector 2 here.
Ooh, another replay. Lots of action going on.
It's Whitehouse
here.
again.
This is Whitehouse. This doesn't look like it's the same incident. So maybe he is just struggling a little bit with this corner. Yeah, it always goes for a spin there. That is actually an awkward place to have a spin. Unfortunately, rolls backwards, gets out of the way of, I believe that was Martin Stefanko. And the Muscala car as well, as now Max Barkley dives it down the inside. That is way too late on the brakes. God, you can see that from a mile back. That was never going to work. And he's going to have to be careful with the rejoin, because I believe there's a car coming, which he is just going to get back in front of Flying Goat. But Max Barkley there, that was a little bit too late.
Just a smidge. The anti-lock brakes are good, but they're not that good.
Yeah, they sort of help. They don't do it for you. And now Bovo is going to be getting a nice slipstream here, coming down into the braking zone, but he's not going to be able to get past this time. Yeah, Max Barkley running that one a little bit too much, and that has let the core team off that position.
Stefanko's got the gap stabilised at about 5.5 seconds behind the driller's car of Antonovsky, as Whitehouse has been in the pit lane now for reasons, probably to change the tyres, because they've probably been destroyed with all that spinning.
He only just got into that car, didn't he? Which is
a
bit of an interesting one, but he must have had some sort of flat spot after that spin, because that was quite a awkward little spin, but just enough to get some flat spots going as well. And I was just taking a look at the gap between Antonovsky and Stefanko, and it's actually stayed fairly consistent. It hasn't come down that drastically as you would expect. So Antonovsky is really holding on to this third place, and who knows, this might actually work out just a little bit, as we only have 16 and a bit minutes left of this second hour, where we will be expecting the second round of pit stops at the end of it. And who knows, this could actually work out for Antonovsky, but he will definitely have to change tyres and drivers at this next stint. So then we need to see what Stefanko's going to do. I would assume he's just going to simply change over new tyres, fresh fuel tank for Petter Burlak, who seems to be his teammate for this series.
So Burlak in that car is going to be an absolute weapon. So it definitely could end up being Williams 2 and 3 come the end of the 3 hours.
It's certainly good, which would be a very good result for them, considering they didn't have their first car, or what you'd assume is their first car, with Brzezinski, Wisniewski, Keithley, and Romanidis. That's a pretty stacked quad lineup. For, I mean, let's just call it operational issues as to why they didn't show up to the first couple of races. And yeah, they're now back here with their second car, and they're trying to get a double podium. I think if they do not beat Burst, they'll be a little bit disappointed, considering they do obviously have 2 attempts to do that. But Simoncic is doing a really good job here, and Brzezinski is closing in. The gap is now down to about 2 seconds at the front of the field as well. So we haven't really spoken about them too much in this second hour, but Simoncic and Brzezinski are having a very good fight, and Kuba is not letting up, and you can see they're sliding through Acqua Minerale, really pushing to the limits. And obviously after about 45 or so minutes on these tyres, they are starting to get a little bit worse, at least in terms of the peak grip. He's certainly pushing very hard to catch down Yerne. And quite an interesting factor actually with Williams are they're using the BMW for this series, but they're using the Corvette for GT Pro. So they have to learn 2 different cars and 2 different setups, whereas Burst are using the Corvette in both GT Pro and this series, which means they can pretty much whack on, you know, a base setup from somewhere else and work it out. And also they know the car a little bit better, because they are different cars, they behave slightly differently, and how they like to be driven. So it is quite interesting that Williams went for a different car, a different chassis that they've got to learn. It does seem like a little bit more work, but they obviously think it's an advantage. I mean, Aiden, if you had a team, well, actually, we'll get the replay first. Look at that.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, so Aiden, if you were Williams, would you run 2 different chassis, or would you do what Burst have done and use the same chassis in 2 different GT3 series?
I think I'd use the same chassis across all series, just for the consistency with any data gathering and stuff like that. I know that Zansho are using the Corvette over GT Pro, GT Challenge, and E-Team Brit and other series that they're in. Just makes more sense.
Yeah,
and that's spread to the and then in like ACC and stuff like that, it's the same car across the board. So, and that's shared with the Jensen Team Rocket stuff and all that kind of thing. So it just makes the engineer's life a lot easier to just work on one car at a time.
Yeah, especially as far as I'm aware, the BOP is the exact same as well. So the GT Pro BOP has been put onto these cars as well, for instance. So I believe that it's the exact same situation. And obviously in one instance, maybe for sprint racing, they think the Corvette is better. Or for the endurance side, they think the BMW is better. It is quite an interesting factor for these guys to work out. But obviously they think that the BMW is the best, and it certainly seems pretty good, as there are, I believe, only 2 Corvettes in the top 10. You know, after everyone's saying that the Corvette's the best, Corvette is the best, blah, 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 it definitely seems that there's only 2 Corvettes in the top 10, which is quite an interesting factor. There's more BMWs.
Yeah. I think because of the GT Pro and GT Challenge, because that's more, it's a 15-minute and then a 45-minute sprint. It's not a longer race. So cars like the BMW, as we see Christopher Whitehouse taking a drive-through penalty there, the BMW can really come into its own over the course of a much longer stint, well, an hour, as it so happens. So I think just for that specific type of racing, the Corvette is definitely better.
Yeah, certainly a different style of racing. It gets a little bit crazy. Yeah, a little bit crazy for those guys in GT Pro and obviously GT Challenge, which is the junior series of that as well, happening on Mondays. But yeah, certainly a different type of racing and a different type of driving style that needs to be implemented for those different ones. As well, looking at Simicic, who is now getting a little bit hunted down by Brzezinski, but Brzezinski got a cut track on that last lap, and he also did a couple of laps ago as well, so he needs to be careful to not get a penalty, because a penalty would definitely ruin their chances. And I believe at the Nordschleife last time, Stefanko got a drive-through penalty as well, so Williams need to be careful to not get penalties, as that is that's really what can twist a battle when you're so close. And talking about close battles, Stefanko is now in sight of Antonovsky for this third place, and there's still 10 minutes to go of this stint. But so far, this is actually working out for Antonovsky really well, because not only did he get himself track position, but he got himself ahead of Dennis Lind, who is now 14 seconds behind Stefanko. So getting that track position definitely seemed like it's going to work out for Antonovsky. It's just, will it be enough for him to hold on to this third place? We will have to find out after the next pit stops, as we move our attention to 18th place with Sancini having to defend a little bit from Ememwen coming into turn number 2, but he seems to hold on there very nicely. And we've got a replay here of Brzezinski.
That'll be a cut track.
Oh, definitely.
Way too much at Peratala.
Yeah, way off the track there. In SRC, the limit is the white line. Obviously, the in-game cut tracks may be slightly different here and there, but for the most part, you want to be keeping inside the white lines. As we've got Wanako, I believe that is, getting involved with this battle for 19th place. So Monwen needs to just sit behind and see what happens. But I believe the Wanako car is getting held up here. If I am not mistaken, because that is Borja Milan in 8th place. But he needs to be let past here by Sancini, but Sancini needs to be careful not to lose another position, which he has actually done pretty well if he maybe did wait a little bit too long.
Well, I was going to say, you made a hash of the chicane, but Emmerwin had a bit of a wobble going over the yellow sausage curves on the exit of the corner, so it kind of cancelled it out. So Emmerwin's not going to get the run he might have wanted to go through the Rivazzas, but it can all happen into Tamburello on the next lap.
Just seen Russo come into the pit lane for Go Team Racing with 1 hour and 8 minutes to go. That is going to be a big stint to get that car to the end of the race, being well over an hour on fuel time. He is going to need to do a lot of fuel saving in this final stint. So we will see how that one works out. But I'd say that is a little bit too soon, as Garadoglu gets a, I would assume, drive-through penalty for cuts. But that is not what you want to be doing either. So yeah, we'll have to see if that Russo and Go Team Racing strategy works out. Nedev, who we spoke to, was fairly confident of holding on to that position from Bock and Milan, but I'm not so sure if they're going to have to do a lot of fuel saving. We'll have to see. Because if they've pit this soon, then that means that they haven't been fuel saving already.
No, it's probably about 9 minutes or so too early for them, in theory, but he's leaving the pit lane now in 10th place. Alice Pleva also in the pit lane. So those pit stops have started to happen. But then again, both of the cars that have come in are BMWs, so it might just be a BMW issue.
Potentially, but then Stefanko, I believe, was waiting the longest in the first stint. So it is also down to your driving technique. And Stefanko is now closing down on Antonovsky. Only a second between them now. You can see him in the foreground of the shot, as there is some lap traffic, I believe. We've got Go Team Racing, who are obviously effectively a lap down now because they've made their pit stop first. But also someone else is involved there. I think that is the Blackbird car, potentially, yeah. getting involved there. So Stefanko getting past a bit nicer than Andonovski, as Milan also comes into the pit lane slightly early. And you said Plevers also could be a BMW thing. Well, we'll have to find out as we are getting towards the second round of pit stops.
Oh, here we go. Emma Wen. That's lap traffic behind him, isn't it? So that's fine, I think.
No,
it's not. No.
So he's actually got past, I believe, because Sancini was definitely ahead in this battle. The Speedy Bike driver has got himself up into 17th place. So as we've said, pretty much the whole race so far, it doesn't matter what position these guys are in, they are going to battle it out and try and get that position.
Oh, yeah, because it was Boyer Milan was trying to clear those two, wasn't he? So, yeah, that makes sense now. There's so much going on.
Well, it is that sort of track. It's one of the shorter ones, not as short as we will get next time out in Portland. That is going to be crazy. As we see a replay of the overtake.
Usual stuff. Slipstream into towards Tamburello. On the wrong side of the track. But better on the brakes. Sweeps it around the outside. Keeps it under control.
Nelson has pulled over on the side of the track in 25th place. So I wonder if that's going to cause any sort of issues. But Stefanko, in the meantime, is getting right on the back now of Andonovski. So to be fair, Andonovski's done such a good job. We're only a couple of laps away from pit stops, and he's holding on to this third place with those old tyres. Remember, Stefanko took tyres and has had to then catch up that time. Whereas Andonovski did not take tyres, and he had that track position, had about 25, 30 seconds advantage that Stefanko's only just managed to catch up. So this is going to be a very interesting battle to see what they're going to do at the next round of pit stops. And we see Nelson, I believe this is actually, yes, it's a replay of him coming out Tosa. Obviously, he just blew his engine like the crop on the downshifts into Tosa, and that will be Omicron out of the race. In the meantime, Stefanko needs to try and get past Andonovski, because Ridders are obviously looking pretty good on the strategy today, so I'm sure he will want to make it past on track. But we do know that Williams are very good on the strategy themselves from previous races. Someone was around there. That was Whitehouse around at the final corner. But I think Stefanko is going to have enough slipstream to at least have a little bit of a look. As also Menwen is off the track. All sorts of cars, 3 cars off the track in the last minute. As Stefanko's trying to make this overtake on Andonovski round the outside into turn number 2. But he's not quite close enough. And he knows that Andonovski is looking very feisty today.
It makes you wonder if they're going to be reversed come the end of the race. So Andonovski's going to take tyres, but will the Williams team be double stinting? I mean, it's a risk doing a driver swap and sending me out on used tyres, but
he has to, if they change tyres, you have to do a driver swap basically, because your driver time is just a little bit longer than changing tyres. So if you don't change tyres, like Risto Capet had like in Nordschleife, you basically just get the time loss for no reason.
Right.
Which is how R8G actually screwed up the strategy last race, because they Capet basically had to do the final stint on old tyres where they didn't actually mean to do so, which is not ideal. So yeah, when changing drivers, you basically just naturally change tyres anyway. And I should say it'd be a bit dodgy putting someone out on tyres that they didn't already drive. So yeah, that's an interesting one for strategy. So Williams definitely have to change tyres, and I would assume that drillers will as well, because as we mentioned, there's no reason to not do that if you're changing drivers, and both of these cars still need to change drivers, as that is a rule. You can't do a single driver race. And who is going to blink first, as we have 1 hour 2 minutes to go, and they both stay out for at least another lap.
Ron Caballero is in for undercover. So that'll be a driver swap as well, I think. Yeah, he's been in since the beginning. Francesconi's also in. He'll be handing over. Sramek is in. So it's the final round of pit stop starting now.
Yeah, we've got a lot of guys on the server. Obviously, 2 change drivers. We've got Pedersen, Wisniewski, Michelle, Pascal Schmidt, Peter Burlak, all for like the top 5 teams. They're all there to overtake take over. That's the word I was looking for. And I believe we've got James Zuber, so he must be getting in the car for Andonovski. Can he keep the pace? We did see this a couple of times for drillers so far this season in both VEC and GT3 Endurance, that they often have their second driver who is a little bit slower, whereas other teams are able to keep that pace with their second driver. So can Zuber get in and hold this pace? We'll see. And what has happened here to Imola?
This Aqua Minerale is way too hot.
Ooh, spins the wrong way. Overcorrecting. And that was, a few laps ago. We did see him rejoining. Once again, 1 hour to go. Who's going to pit first? It is Andonovski, as expected, because Stefanko stayed out longest in that first stint anyway, with Simčić and Brzezinski still out. So Andonovski's coming in, which is probably the smartest thing to do, so that he doesn't have to battle and lose time to Stefanko. And he will be changing drivers. Always we got so tight in the pit lane. All the speedy mites in a row. Getting a little bit tight there.
Unsafe release, is that a thing? I don't know. But Stefanko now in third, Dennis Lind in fourth. All to play for over the next 59.5 minutes or so.
Indeed, as we go into the final hour of the race. Had 2 hours here in Imola, 1 hour to go for the 3 hours of Imola. Third round of the GT3 Endurance series, with this man, Janis Simčić, leading the way for the number 49 car, who is also leading the championship as well. So we have to see if he is going to make his pit stop. He's obviously fairly comfortably in the lead because he's had the control of that pace, and he has come into the pit lane on the end of lap 71. But Brzezinski stays out. So both the Williams cars going a lap longer, as we saw. As we now have James Zuber leaving the pit lane, so he has taken over from Andonovski. Can he keep the pace? And can he get that podium for Pinsim Drillers Esports? We are about to find out. But Stefanko, what is he going to do? He's going to come into the pit lane as well. So Stefanko is going to be changing drivers now for Peter Burlak.
Simčić, Stefanko getting ready to vacate the car. Lind's also in. So Brzezinski will take over the lead for now, but hasn't pitted as of yet. Just a rundown of who we've lost. We lost John Nelson, Ferran Grau, Rob Moore, Jean-Paul Van Aal, Henry Sinnick, Mathieu Ducrot and Donat Prodan, who barely made half a mile. So, strap in tight. We're going to be in for a good end into this race.
We certainly are. And once again, in GT3 Endurance, it's all about the strategy, despite it being a 3-hour race, where you might actually think strategy isn't so important because it's, almost a sprint race for some of these guys. I mean, especially at Le Mans, you see people do more than 3 hours just in a single driver stint. But here, it is obviously a team race, but actually it means strategy is more important because you only have 2 pit stops in the whole race. So you've got to get those 2 pit stops absolutely crucial. As there was a bit of a crash there on it was, because those cars have disappeared. There was definitely a crash there in rFactor with, I couldn't remember who that was now, but there was definitely 2 cars. I believe it was a Speedy Mike car. Was definitely having a bit of a crash there in the penultimate corner. So now we see Jesper Pedersen come out. He is leading the way as Brzezinski is now into the pit lane. Peter Burlak has got in for the other Williams car, so he's back out currently in 3rd place. And then James Zuber is in 4th. But Brzezinski is there in the pit lane, and we won't know until the guys come around, because obviously the pit stops are quite long, whether that is going to be a bit of an overcut for Williams.
We're about to find out as just flicking through the field here. Pedersen's just coming out of Variante Alta. So Kuba's got about 23 seconds with which to get out of the pit lane. Well, Nicodem's got about 25 seconds to get out of the pit lane. Pedersen is now coming onto the start-finish straight now.
So can Pedersen get out ahead? Brzezinski is leaving his box a little bit slowly, actually. But he's got a very short run to the pit exit. Here's that pit exit now. Where is Jesper Pedersen? He's obviously much faster and he has got the lead. So as expected, he's kept the lead. But Wisniewski is there and only a couple of seconds behind as he has been. But remember, both these drivers have just jumped into the car as well. So they've got to get in, they've got to get up to speed, and they've got to make sure that they do not lose, in Pedersen's case, his team the win. And here is a rundown so far. So we've got Burst Esport leading the way, followed by Williams Esport Chill Blast in the white car. And then in third place is the other Williams Esport Ben Q in the purple car. Then we have Pinsim Drillers in fourth place, Go Team Racing in fifth, Cetrez Night of Alex in sixth place, Evolution in seventh, Wanako in eighth, Speedy Mite in ninth, and HM Engineering rounding out the top 10. On the second page, we've got the other Cetrez Night of Alex in 11th place, Core Team Racing in 12th place, Undercover 13th, Speedy Mite in 14th, Protec there in 15th place, Scuderia Bezelia in 16th, Scuderia Mascala in 17th, Revo Satellite Racing in 18th, Pro Simtech in 19th, and Absolute Motorsports in 20th position. Pescara not having the best day there, down in 21st, followed by the two other core teams, one of the Corvette and one of the BMW. Flying Gota flying a bit higher than normal, up in 24th place. Speedy Mite, another Speedy Mite car there in 25th. Blackbirds in 26th. Caspian 27th. Omicron 28th. Joy Racing in 29th. And Pushrod in 30th, who have DNF'd. Along with Seawolf, Ground Effect, Pinsim Drillers, One Move, and also Volante Racing. We have now entered the fun hour, and we have just got a penalty for Marcos Moutinho there. So we have now got 53 minutes to go, and who is going to win? We still don't know. Wisniewski, very quick driver on the back of Pedersen, also a very quick driver, but the battle for the podium is not over. Peter Berlak did manage to overcut, or Stefanko, I should say, managed to overcut Drillers before making the driver swap to Peter Berlak, but we now have James Zuber, who's taken over from Antonovsky all over the back of them. And I think, Aidan, that this battle for the podium is going to go all the way to the checkered flag.
Yep, just 2.6 or so seconds between the two leaders. We've got... I haven't actually seen much of Jesper Pedersen. I'm assuming he's pretty quick. He's at Burst Esports after all. But yeah, Wisniewski very, very, very fast. So all to play for. He's got one lap fresher tyres, but I don't think that's going to make much of a difference in terms of a time delta. As we see a replay of Marcos Moutinho coming up towards the Ravazzas here. I'm assuming this is where he picked up his penalty. Oh, why?
Oh, this is what we saw in the background around the pit stop sequence. It was sort of out of nowhere, absolutely dive bombed Speedy Mite. I don't know if that that penalty was for a cut, or maybe there's a unsportsmanlike driving sensitivity as well. And look at that, fastest lap time, Nikodem Wisniewski, a 141.250. He is coming for Burst Esports, and they need to be careful. You said you haven't heard too much of Jesper Pedersen, but despite being the team manager of Burst, he is very fast indeed. He is certainly capable of keeping pace with the likes of Yanni Simicic, but it is a 1v1. Wisniewski versus Pedersen in this final 50 minutes of the race. And who's going to come out on top, we will have to find out. As well as this battle between Zuber and Berlak. So we've got a battle for first and second, and a battle for third and fourth. And I'm quite excited to see which way this is going to end, because it is being quite unpredictable so far. And it seems that these drivers are going to keep on battling all the way through these 3 hours.
while we've got a bit of a lull in the proceedings, we've actually got Remco Major waiting in the waiting room, so if we can bring him up and have a bit of a chat, see how it's going for him. I've got to be able to. I've got to do this with my push to talk held down. Hang on a second. I don't think I have the rights to bring him up.
No, we'll just make sure that he's here. Then we'll pull him up because he's obviously here for undercover that you see on the screen there down in 12th place at the moment. So we'll just see when he is ready for an interview. But they've certainly had an interesting race so far in that Bentley. They've been in some scraps so far. But Remco, are you there?
Yes, I am.
How was your first couple of stints in that car, in that Bentley? Obviously, you had quite a few scraps with some other drivers getting involved in the action, but you're sitting decently in 12th place at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, kind of unexpected because in qualifying I already noticed and in practice that we don't have any top speed, like none. When we're in the draft in like a BMW, we pretty much lose like 5 car lengths. So kind of unexpected to be in this position in the first place, but had a lot of fun like having to defend of other people who are way quicker than me, like on the straights and stuff. So yeah, it was kind of hard, but the second stint, no one around me, nothing in front of me, nothing behind me. After a while, started playing I Spy with my little eye with my teammate. And just tick the laps down and P12 right now. It's like insane with this Bentley.
Yeah, so we're going to say that. So the Bentley's obviously not the most popular car this year. I believe there's only 3 on the whole grid. So do you think that's maybe hindering your performances a little bit because you are down in 17th place in the standings? Do you think it's the Bentley, or do you think there's still some places that you can improve as drivers as well?
I mean, my teammate is not as good as me. He just isn't. It's just all his fault. And no. Like the Bentley really is hindering us on this track. I think at Nordschleife it was all on me because I flipped 6 times. Then again, at Silverstone we were pretty decent. I was because Jonathan started that race, and we are pretty much doing this series just for him to get more experience in this thing. So we're quite unevenly matched. So, but Bentley, it can be good in some tracks, but in some tracks it's just not there. And we're seeing that today. Like on the straights, it's just nowhere. The Corvettes can outbrake us and are quicker on the straights. So, yeah.
And what do you think can happen in the... actually, I'll just cut off for 1 second. Is James Zuber going to be able to get past... Well, no, he's not. Not for now anyway. This battle is certainly going to go on for the next 48 minutes. And it seems that James Zuber's got in and got up to pace very quickly. He's now going to go down the inside of Petter Burlak, at least potentially into the Villeneuve chicane. They're going to go side by side. He's going to get a good switchback here, coming potentially to the outside of Tosa Corner. But he's not quite close enough, so he's going to dive it back to the inside. Petter Burlak, though, keeping it down to the apex, and he's going to be able to hold on to that position for now. But Remco, what do you think you can do in the next 5 races after this one? Do you think you can get any higher, or do you think with the Bentley you're just going to struggle a little bit?
We're just going to struggle. I mean, also in the pits we still have that thing where for our car the driver swap takes extra time, for like 25 seconds extra, but for others it's like 2 seconds extra. So we need to take a look into that. And yeah, I mean, it's all we have. We will still have fun because, I mean, Ada knows me. I'll just start singing or something. But yeah, I don't think we're going to end up in any top 10 this season. Definitely not in this car. So
you're doing a solid performance anyway today, so good luck for the remainder of this race and also for the season, and hopefully we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
So that was Remco Major from Undercover Sim Racing. As I said, not the easiest chance for them, although James Zuber, this is going to be an easy chance for him down the inside of Petter Burlak. He managed to get the switch back compared to where he was last last lap going around the outside, but he goes down the inside, gets up into third place. So James Zuber is absolutely on it here compared to Petter Burlak. He has managed to get himself there up into third place. He's got the speed for drillers, but they are some 30 odd seconds off the lead. But Nico Barkley now, which way is he going to go on Pascal Schmidt? Interesting, Wanako switched back drivers, so they did the 1-2-1 situation. He's gone around the outside now, Pascal Schmidt. Can he get it down to the second apex? Yes, he can. Amazing move around the outside there as Pascal Schmidt drops down. And we also have some more battling here between Prevost, his teammate we were just talking to, and Ollie McGowan as well. So all sorts are going on here. Into Tozer. Can the Porsche get down the inside? No, he can't quite. So the 45 stays ahead. And Aidan, this is really starting to kick off again as we have 45 minutes to go.
Yeah, I've just been looking at the times up at the front as we see the this is Zuber. And oh, okay. Oof. Yeah, that car is not having a good time out there. But Wisniewski is lapping quarter of a second to 0.3 a lap faster than Pedersen, and that gap is slowly coming down. With Wisniewski having the fastest lap overall of a 1:41.1, while Pedersen's fastest lap is a 1:41.3. So it's getting there. We've got 3/4 of an hour remaining. It's hang on to your seats time.
And as we are looking at this battle for third place, we might as well get a little interview here from Timotej Andonovski, who's obviously driving this driller's car that is currently in third place. And obviously James Zuber is in the car now. But Timo, you did a pretty good first couple of stints. You managed to get yourself with strategy up there into the podium positions, and now James has just solidified that. So are you really happy with how your car's going so far?
It's decent. It's decent. I honestly don't know if the gamble paid off. In the first stint, I was keeping up with Martin quite easily, but Dennis was holding us up both. He was defending, let's say, on the limit, to put it nicely. And I two laps before my first stint ended, I was like, I have to risk it. Martin will be faster, because Williams is on average faster than us. So we took the risk. At the end of the day, the gap to the first two people remained roughly the same, like around 21 to 23 seconds. And considering that the Williams is faster than us, I'm quite happy with the risk that we took.
And are you obviously got quite feisty between Stefanko, Lind, and yourself? Are you worried about any sort of penalty? Because obviously you did eventually go through the gravel at one point as well. Do you think anything of that, or are you sort of happy with how it went?
I do think a lot of stuff about it, but I would prefer to remain quiet for now. Obviously, I would say that was a pretty pushy on Dennis's side. Dennis, I would say that I passed him off track, even though I was ahead before the braking zone. It will be up to the stewards if reported. However, I don't really worry too much, because I genuinely left him enough of a gap on the inside for the turn-in. For the switchback, he didn't leave it at all. He basically went as if I weren't there. If something happens, it is what it is. It was a split decision move to not give the position back, because I genuinely believe I didn't do anything wrong. On top of that, not only was I pushed, but I got a cut track for it, so we are very close and on the edge at the moment. So yeah, up to the stewards is all I can say. I'm obviously gonna defend myself.
Of course, but you've certainly taken some risks today, also on the strategy.
Oh yeah,
and it seems to be paying out for you, and also James seems to be looking pretty racy and potentially has the speed on Petter. So do you think you can hold on for that podium?
I honestly hope we can. Our timing, we hope it's right. The calculations are done. Let's just hope they're done right. So with fuel and time and everything, we should be okay. I just saw that James actually passed Peter, which is more than excellent. So if we can keep P3, that would be excellent, because this, unlike Silverstone, will be on merit, because the Silverstone Monaco had a disconnect, which was very unfortunate. However, like if we keep this, I will be thrilled.
And just lastly from me, obviously you did struggle a little bit last race in your card number 78, but what do you think you can do in the sort of next 5 races after this one towards the end of the season? Do you think you can get towards maybe top 5, top 4 in the championship?
Yes, I genuinely think we can. Fun fact about myself and the Nordschleifer, I was running the track with pace notes. I didn't know it. I learned it 3 days before the actual race. I've never driven a lap around it, and I hope I never have to again for the rest of my life.
Well, it's certainly not on the calendar remaining for this season, but maybe next season, who knows. But thanks for talking to us, and good luck for you guys, and hopefully you can finish on the podium.
Thank you. See you guys. Bye.
Bye. That was Timotej Andonovski, co-driver of the number 78 that is currently in 3rd place. In the timings, you can see that Petter is still about a second behind James, so he's not letting James get away too far, but there hasn't really been any other battles there forward. But there is this battle. David Junt, Prevost, and just ahead of them, Ollie McGowan, also with Nico Barkley getting involved a lap ahead of them. And Aidan, it seems to be getting quite spicy between some of these guys. We've got a replay here as well.
Yeah, this is Ollie McGowan at the back of Jonathan Provost, heading up towards Variante Alta. Bit of a half spin for the Bentley driver. Let's see what Ollie can do. He's going to have the inside line, which will put him on the outside for the first rFactor corner. Down the inside there, hard on the brakes, and that's position. Nicely done.
Yeah, nice little move, and he's got himself the track position as well with... Well, he actually hasn't now, because he had to let through Nico Barkley, and he's lost that track position that he had because of the traffic. Now, Jonathan Prevost is going to be going down the inside into turn number 1. Can he keep it in for turn number 2 on the brakes? Yes, he can. Nice move there by Undercover, as McGowan obviously got a little bit crossed up in the rFactor corner to let Nico Barkley through with blue flags. Well, that is just what happens with the blue flags. But they also have David Junt just behind, so they need to be wary to that to make sure they don't drop down too many more places. But this is certainly a nice little battle heating up between these two drivers. And interestingly, I just noticed Nico Barkley is actually ahead of Pascal Schmidt. Pascal Schmidt is in the background, so somewhere a few laps ago, Barkley also got past Evolution as well. So good job for them to catch back up. Still on the lead lap for Wanako and Evo, who are obviously... Oh, that is not good though for Ollie McGowan, getting spun around there on the apex. We did jump to a little bit late, but it looked like he might have done a little bit of a dive actually down into Piratella, which is not what you want to be able to do. As also, if you get hit on the front like that, it's generally you who gets spun around. And let's see this again.
Yeah, so this is on board with David Junt. I'm sure we'll get the picture back in a second. Okay, maybe not. Just came back at the wrong second there.
I'm sure we'll see that in a second. Obviously, we'll play just having a little bit of a moment. But yeah, that wasn't a nice situation for McGowan. Then obviously being stuck there on the exit of that corner, which isn't a nice place. Fortunately, no one was pushing the track limits too much, and they managed to not collect him. But yeah, certainly not what these guys would have wanted. And I've just noticed the battle for the lead has gone down underneath a second as well, so many battles to look out for here, as Ollie McGowan is now trying to get back up to pace and getting towards Nash. And he's going to go to the inside of the Revo Satellite driver, and he's got himself on the inside. So that is going to be one move back for Ollie McGowan, but he's still got a couple more to go. But Jesper Pedersen here holding on to Wisniewski. And Aidan, do you think Nico Dem can do this, or do you think Pedersen can hold on for the final 37 minutes?
I'll get back to you in 37 minutes.
That's the easy answer. It's certainly unknown what is going to happen. Wisniewski has done purple after purple to get back past, but Pedersen has been doing some very fast laps of himself. Nico Dem has just had that extra couple of tenths here and there be able to catch up to the Danish driver. And this is Pedersen's, I believe, first time out in, well, at least in this series, but maybe even SRC, because I don't know if he's done any rounds so far in VEC either this season. So good to see him here. Very quick driver, but is he quick enough to hold on to Wisniewski? We are about to find out. This battle has been raging all race. Simic just had the pace on Brzezinski, but it seems like Nikodem Wisniewski just has the pace on Jesper Pedersen. And with a bit of traffic coming up as well, that can always hinder one driver or another, as we're going to get a replay of Nico Buckley.
This is up behind the Muscala car, heading towards Villeneuve. Okay, now we're on board with Antonio Navarro for reasons, but okay. But that gap is getting ever so slightly closer. Looking at the previous lap, Wisniewski a 10th quicker than Pedersen. Seems to be a lot quicker on average.
And Wisniewski's in the slipstream this lap, so this is his first real chance. Can he do it on the first attempt? He looks like he's got really good straight line speed. He's going to be side by side well before even turn number 1 on this lap. Can he get the brakes on the outside, or can Jesper Pedersen come back, which he does on the brakes to keep that lead of the race in the 3 hours of Imola? Wisniewski flashing him a little bit, but there's nothing that bad. If anything, that was just great racing there. Pedersen holding on to the lead, but it seems that that burst car, or the Williams car I should say, is looking really good in a straight line. So Pedersen needs to watch out for that and make sure he is nailing the rFactor corners, because otherwise Wisniewski is going to have a really easy overtake. But Pedersen very good on the brakes there into turn 2. And it looks like this battle is going to be so close as we get towards the final 30 minutes.
Yeah, that flash didn't seem like it was done in a what are you doing type of way. I think it was more of a, yeah, sorry, yeah, after you type of flash. If he was flashing it over and over and over again, that would have been a what are you doing, I've been aggrieved type of flash. But he's everything's still cool between these two.
Well, some would argue it's never cool when Nikodem is around, because he is a very
aggressive
driver. Controversial would also be another way of describing it, but that is good, because that's what we like. We like to see someone who's pushing the limits and trying to make things happen, like David Juntin is here, as they have just been lapped by Pascal Schmidt for Evolution Motorsports. Can he get the opportunity? No, he can't. So he's going to have to try and sit behind for another couple of corners. But this battle is definitely not over, nor is the battle for P18. Stensis is in the car trying to hold on, even though we got the leaders coming past as well. That was getting a little bit hairy. So the other Nice Felix car needs to be careful not to get any blue flags. But we've also got this battle with David Junt. He's trying to get past into Piratella. Can do the bit of a switchback, but then that's going to be the outside for Aqua Minerale. But it's not going to be the outside because he's got the track position. Awesome move there by David Junt coming into Aqua Minerale. Really, really good move there in the number 7, Scuderia Basilia, up to 12th place.
Wisniewski's almost embedded in the diffuser of Pedersen as they come through Tosa up the hill towards Piratella. Wisniewski's having a look down the inside. He's not going to send it in from there.
Yeah,
he's just trying to make Pedersen break, I think, rather than anything else.
Yeah, that corner Piratella, as we said so many times, is just not really a braking zone. So it's so difficult to make that work. And we got some blue flag situations here, and Wisniewski has had history diving it into this corner, the Variante Outer, but he's backed out of it on this occasion, because if he goes steaming in too hot, he will end up hitting the back of Joachim Snesnes in the Knight of Velux car. So, there's Provos having a bit of a slide, which is what gave David Junt the run coming up into Piratella. Bit of contact as well.
So Junt's on the outside. A bit of a switchback, as you said in the live. A bit more bumping. And, ooh, nice.
Really good move there by David Junt. Really good move. He should be very pleased with that. And can Jesper hold on once again? Nikodem is having to go around the outside. He's got a load of speed there, but once again, Pedersen is good enough on the brakes to hold on. But Nikodem's actually got a really good line here and could be under threat now coming towards the end of Sector 1. He's going to have a look down the inside of Villeneuve, but then he backs out of it. And remember, we've only got 30 minutes left of this race, so it really is getting to that point in the race where you need to start trying something. But Wisniewski not quite close enough just yet to make an overtake, but someone who might be very soon is Petter Burlak, getting right back on the back of James Zuber coming into turn number 2.
I don't know which battle to watch at the minute. There's a lot going on as Pedersen still leads through Piratella. Meanwhile, Burliak heading up towards Villeneuve. He's a bit too far back to really challenge for anything. There's a lot traffic. Oh, that was close. That was even closer.
Ooh. Yeah, that is not what you want when you're battling for such a high position with very, very little margins.
I think that was Whitehouse again. I love this camera shot. That is so cool.
Yeah, that's the best one on the track indeed, because the drivers absolutely send it over those curbs. Absolutely send them.
So what's going to happen here at Ravazza? Pedersen needs a good exit, otherwise Wisniewski's going to have it. I don't think that BMW has enough grunt towards the end of the straight.
Oh, that was a decent exit by Pedersen as well. He's got those couple of car lengths that he needs, but will it be enough? Because this Williams really does look quick in a straight line, at least for this first half of the straight. But as you say, does he have enough? Once he pulls out of the slipstream, he's going to have to go right around the outside of turn number 2. Is Pedersen good enough on the brakes to do it once again? Wisniewski holding it there on the apex of turn 3. Pedersen gives him the room just about. 30 minutes remaining in the session, and now Pedersen's having to defend. Coming into Villeneuve chicane. Will Wisniewski dive it down the inside? No, he won't. So Pedersen is really holding on here, but you can see with these multiple chicanes, you get the switchbacks even into this hairpin, and that first half of the track is such a good way to get an overtake just by getting a different line, getting a switchback, and even here up into Piratella, it's always possible to overtake, but around the outside is going to be very difficult. Can Pedersen hold on at the apex? Yes, he can just about, but this battle is going to go on for the final half an hour because it definitely looks like Wisniewski is the faster driver of the two.
Yeah, Wisniewski will most surely pull away if he gets past, but Pedersen, great driving. He's not bottling it. He's not giving in to the pressure. Not any mistakes as Nicodem now looks for the chicane.
Oh, Pedersen coming back though and pushing them up, both of them off the track.
You could argue that was a bit of Nicodem getting his own medicine there, but he's going to kick off now towards the Rivazzas.
This is so difficult for Pedersen because if he defends here, all he's going to do is lose momentum for the second Ravazza and therefore the main straight. Oh, as Wisniewski though has a big slide, so this could be an opportunity for Pedersen to hold on. But Wisniewski is definitely a lot closer. I do think that this is going to be very difficult to defend for the final 28.5 minutes for Pedersen. But so far he's doing a really good job. He just needs to hug the inside here, but leave himself enough room so that he can brake late enough like he can once again in the number 49 to hold on. But you can see the switchback
again.
It's so powerful here coming through turn 4. Look at the run he's going to get. So Pedersen's going to have to dive on the brakes here around the outside of turn 5. That's going to be very difficult, but he manages to do it. Wisniewski here is actually driving really nicely, giving each other the space as well, as Pedersen is obviously trying so hard, and it's a really high level racing here, and there hasn't been, if any, contact so far.
Wisniewski was actually no, I think Wisniewski actually had a cut track on that last lap for going off at the Variante Alta, so I don't know how many cuts he's actually had because I can't see it on the new UI unless I click on here.
Krasinski definitely had at least 2, so that could be something to concern about for Wisniewski, and he has history diving into this chicane, but he doesn't this time, maybe thinking that the main straight is the best overtaking opportunity, and Stensis in the background is just watching these two, hoping that they don't ruin his race because he's fighting for his own position. And it seems like these guys are doing a very good race so far.
Well, put it this way, Wisniewski has 4 cuts.
4?
Yeah.
So that is the limit. A 5th cut will get a penalty because obviously the cut number carries over from driver 1 to driver 2 as well. So you've got to be very careful with how you run that. And we were told it is 4 cuts before a penalty. So if he is on 4, that means he needs to be very careful. And because obviously if you have, say, 2 cuts, you know you can maybe be a bit cheeky and tactically use a couple of other cuts. As we're looking at this battle for 14th place now, McGowan and Nash getting involved. They have been over the last 5 or 10 minutes. And Muscala still there in 14th place, but not quite the race that they would have wanted. But 14th is still going to be a decent result, despite being a little bit off the cars ahead. And this midfield battle has been going all race, and seems like it's going to be going all the way to the flag.
Wisniewski and Pedersen now coming through. Imola still nose to tail, as we have that up in the top right hand of the screen, as well as this 3-way battle on the main screen. So it's quite difficult to pick one to watch in a minute.
Yeah, indeed. Berlak is getting close, but not quite close enough to Zuber. Zuber's doing a very good job indeed. And it's quite interesting that in both instances, it's the Corvette holding up the BMW as well. As Wisniewski, once again, is very close, coming out of the final corner. Maybe as close as he has ever been. There's going to be quite good track position, but once again, Pedersen is so good on these brakes, and he's defending very early indeed to the inside. Wisniewski's going to be ahead, actually, for the first time. He's going to be ahead coming to the braking zone. Pedersen's going to have to send it back down the inside. Wisniewski's out on the marbles, tiny bit of contact. Going to be just squeezing him off the track, but Pedersen's trying to hold it in turn forward, but just not enough. So Wisniewski has got the lead of the 3 hours of Imola. After trying for about 5 or 10 laps, can Pedersen come back? That is the question. Or is Wisniewski just going to fluff in the distance? We will have to find out. But Pedersen did the best, but I don't think that Corvette has quite the same speed as that BMW does at this moment in time.
We can easily flip-flop back round for the next time they come round, as we see more BMW on Corvette action between Zuber and Berlak. Yellow in Sector 2, don't know what that's for. So it's very possible that Pedersen can have a go the next time they go into Tamburello.
Indeed. Just will he have enough power and top speed to be able to come back? It's going to be very difficult, as Petter now is coming back at James Zuber. So I wonder if James Zuber maybe went out a little bit too fast. Maybe he has hurt his tyres. We'll have to find out. Berlak has certainly got up to speed finally and is on the back of Zuber. So this battle for the final podium position is certainly not over. And I can tell you, nor has the battle for the win, because Wisniewski has Pedersen right over the back of him, and he's actually made a bit of a mistake in the final corner as well. So Pedersen is actually trying to unsettle him coming into the final corner, and this could
Pedersen
be
love this.
Burst coming back. It's just, is he too close where he's actually going to not have the sort of momentum that you get when your slipstream is a bit further back, because he's not going to have the speed differential when he gets there. But is he going to go left or right? Left or right? He's going to go to the right-hand side, try and send it on the outside of Wisniewski. On the brakes, Pedersen is very good, but he's going to have to back out of that one, as he's not quite close enough. And this battle is heating up, and it's getting very tense between these two guys. They go in between two back markers. That is insane, having the battle themselves. That is an unbelievable bit of driving by both of these guys. It's good that they are both used to endurance multi-class racing. So that would have felt like them being in LMP2s coming past the GTs, as we see a replay in the back of Pedersen. Look at that. That is unbelievable from these two drivers, driving as fast as they can, pushing each other for the victory. And they aren't stopping for any back markers. They're just going straight through them.
I think just looking at Pedersen has a bit of a wiggle on the exit of Aqua Minerale, kicks up some dust. But we go back to Zuber and Berlak. Berlak in front now. There can Berlak do what his Williams teammate has done and pull away here?
So Berlak is overtaken here off camera. So here's the replay. Petter Berlak round the outside into turn number 2. And it's great to see that you can do so many things in that corner. You can dive on the inside, dive on the outside. You can get the switch back, which James Zuber tried, but he just hit that yellow anti-cut a bit too much. And now we can go back to the lead to see, can Pedersen get back? He is a little bit too far this lap, but this is going to be a lap where he's going to have to build up the momentum and try and get the track position back, because he was a car length or two too far back this time round. But we still have 21.5 minutes to go. There's still plenty of laps for these drivers to sort themselves out. Just depends, can they battle at this intensity for the remaining laps? It is quite incredible, actually, how fast and how far they've been pushing each other so far.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a Williams 1-2 today. But Pedersen having a bit of a moment on the exit of Villeneuve, which has slowed him down a bit, but still 0.3 of a second between the two of them. Callaway seems to be a lot better on the brakes compared to the BMW, but BMW just seems to have something a bit better.
Indeed, and as we have mentioned, Wisniewski is obviously one of the fastest drivers in rFactor 2, like period. He's always at the top in all of the top leagues and top esports events. And let's see a replay here.
All right, so Pedersen on the outside. Just doesn't have enough, as Brzezinski had the inside line for Tamburelli. But these... Oh, this is a replay of the slalom.
That's so good.
As those first 5 or 6 corners, they're just so... They're quick. They're faster than they look. And you can just do so much with them to have some great racing.
Yeah, they certainly were designed very well when the chicanes were introduced. Obviously, they do favour GT racing potentially a little bit more than, say, open wheels, because there isn't quite such a variance in open wheels compared to what you get in the GTs when you hit those curbs and that sort of stuff. But it's just bring us some really good racing, both with the multi-class in VEC last week, but also with the single class endurance here. With the GT3 Endurance, obviously all cars are GT3s. Obviously the name gives that one away. But yeah, certainly proving a very good race here. And after 93 laps on lap 94, with only a handful left, we're getting very close to the end here. And you can see there in 10th position, HM Engineering getting 16 places. So good job from them. They've had a very quiet race. I don't think we've actually mentioned HM Engineering once this race, but 10th place would be a very nice result. Thomas Jacobs in that car at the moment, and in that McLaren are looking very nice indeed. 10th place would be a good solid result, because I believe in the standings they are not doing overly good. Yeah, they're down in 28th place, and they didn't finish last time out in Nordschleife. Didn't get any points last time out in Nordschleife, so not the best season so far for them, but this would certainly be a good result indeed, as Pedersen has gone off somewhere. He had no time next to his name either, which means he did a cut track on last lap, and he has dropped down by a second to Wisniewski, and I believe that could be the end of this battle, at least for now, because he's going to have to catch that time up. But there's certainly been a bit of an issue there from Jesper Pedersen, so hopefully we see some sort of replay to what happened there, because that is potentially race-defining moment for Pedersen, who was arguably struggling a little bit to keep the same pace as Nicodem, but he was still being in the possibility, but now that is going to be looking a little bit too difficult for him.
Yeah, it sounds like he may have gone off at Variante Alta, but the gap's now 2 seconds, so he's lost another half a second on that lap.
Yeah, struggling a little bit to hold the pace now, but obviously I find myself is also almost a bit of a motivational thing when you're pushing so hard, and then you finally realize it's gone. We might see that time slip away a bit, but it's quite actually interesting to see where the other Williams car is 37 seconds off the lead. Not all of that was because of Dennis Lind in the first stint. They have simply just been slower since then. So here is a replay of Jesper Pedersen coming up to Piratella, actually. I believe this was on that previous lap where we noticed he had dropped off. Hopefully it's not to do with traffic or anything like that, because that would not be
Well, it
good
might be
indeed.
Aqua
But
Minerale.
yeah, I believe that is Wisniewski ahead of him. So he goes a bit wide. That could be potentially where he got his cut track, but not where he has lost time. So maybe he is in Variante Alta. Is he going to use the curbs too much? Oh,
I think
no.
he's just generally slower.
He might, yeah, just be so. We'll see if anything happens down into Revazza. This is obviously where we noticed he lost time coming out of it.
Oh, that didn't look good. That was slow in that first part.
Interesting. There's nothing just to... Interesting. Nothing particular. Maybe he is literally just slower. We have noticed Nicodem to be a lot faster. That is why he was on the back of him for so long. And someone who's been on the back for quite a while as well is McGowan, who was on the back of Muscala as well. So it looks like Nicodem is going to be holding on at least for the next few laps in this lead. And I think the number 22, Williams Esport Chill Blast, will be very, very happy with that indeed. Because they didn't attend the first two races. They weren't able to show their speed, but they now have, and they've jumped in. And it looks like they're going to be jumping in with victory with only 15 minutes to go. Let's see what happens between this battle of Scuderia Muscala, Speedy Mite, and Revo Satellite Racing for 14th place.
Yeah, just to emphasise how much Pedersen's dropped off. Previous lap, Wisniewski 41.5. Got my numbers the wrong way around, and Pedersen a 42.1. So he's lapping about half a second quicker. Oh, sorry, slower.
Yeah, that sort of makes sense considering how easy Wisniewski kept up behind him. You could tell he had a sort of pace advantage, so I'm not really surprised at the fact that they are now pulling away. He is now pulling away, I should say. It's over 3 seconds as well. But in fact, it's actually Petter who's getting potentially a little bit closer to Pedersen, but probably too much time to catch in the last few laps. But McGowan is getting very close to Muscala once again. But all Go Team Racing, they're making a splash and dash pit stop. This could be very, very bad indeed. They could be losing this spot to Nico Barkley, which they will be, and possibly even Pascal Schmidt, although I think Schmidt is a little bit too far behind actually. So they have lost that position to Nico Barkley. So Georgi Nedev, who we spoke to earlier, he was confident of holding on to that 6th place, but Nico Barkley seems to have out-strategized them, and they are there now in 7th place, or 6th place I should say. Go Team down to 7th place, and that is going to be too much time for them to catch up as well. As we see this battle just ahead of actually Nikodem Wisniewski, this could be quite crucial for his lead of the race, as we've got these 4 cars battling all the way down to turn number 2.
Speed of my car. I had a little bit of a look, but just way too far back to do anything. So he seems to have clawed it back in that first chicane as Wisniewski tried to clear lap traffic behind.
And this lap traffic could be quite crucial with Pedersen keeping up or not, but then obviously Pedersen will then himself have to come through the traffic. So this gap might fluctuate up and then, or down and then up again once Nikodem gets past this traffic. But they're not going to want to, obviously the rules state that they have to get out of the way when they're under blue flags, but they're not going to do it that easily because they're obviously trying to fight a battle themselves. Nikodem definitely getting held up here behind these cars, but the gap to Pedersen is staying fairly consistent. But Nikodem now starting to get past him, but he's certainly losing some time here, and he needs to be careful to be not impatient and not to lose any more time than he needs to.
Well, the lap traffic seems to be letting him through without totally compromising their own pace. So this looks fine. It's not like they just pulled over and slammed on the brakes and lost another place. They just sort of gently eased out of a corner to allow Nikodem to get past, and now he's on the back of the Scuderia Mascala car.
Yeah, so he's obviously he will be getting the blue flags, will Christian. So interestingly, Mascala did the 1-2-1 strategy like a couple of others did, where they actually do 2 driver swaps and swap back, which is always an interesting strategy, because as we mentioned, you do have a couple of seconds extra loss in your pit stop when you do a driver swap, which is why most teams will be doing just 2 drivers and therefore 1 swap per race. But they've done the double swap, and it potentially is helping them, because Andrew was struggling a little bit, but now Christian is in the car and he's holding on pretty well for this 14th place, because McGowan still can't get past them for this 15th place.
But getting through that lap traffic didn't actually cost Nikodem anything. It was 3.7 at the start of him going through, and it's 3.6 now. So
yeah, I mean that's
he cleared that without much time lost at all. So now it's to see if Jesper Eriksson is as lucky.
Yeah, obviously Pedersen sort of come through the traffic now himself, but is Nico Barkley's doing a splash and dash as well. So Russo is being let off the hook here.
Yeah, Pusco Team Racing back into 6th.
Interesting. Now, some of these guys are doing splash and dash. I was not expecting that, as obviously the cars do have fuel mixtures as well, so it is possible to save. But maybe they thought 10 minutes of fuel and therefore 6 or 7 laps was too much to save over the course of the race, which is an interesting one. But that is given Evolution Motorsports P7 as well. So just interesting how different drivers and different teams are doing their strategies. Well, what happens here?
Lucas Stremek coming up towards the Rivazzas. Deja vu moment. Whack.
Wow. That is so unlucky.
I think he got caught out by Whitehouse.
Oh, he's got bent suspension there. Look at that. Look at that. Cars all over the place. And this is why there was a speedy bike car going. Yeah.
Oh,
he should have pit.
that's the wrong track.
Yeah, he should have pit for the suspension damage. I did see him weaving about a little bit, but I thought he was just letting cars through or something like that. But no, that was actually damage that he got, which is not ideal for these guys. And a couple of other guys are in the pit lane as well. Jaredioglu and Veluzul is coming in as well. So a couple of splash and dashes happening. Very interesting indeed. I do wonder if any of the more top-end guys will do that, but one would assume that they would have sorted out their fuel numbers, so they didn't need to do that.
Pedersen lost almost 2 seconds clearing that lap traffic, so it's not gone as well for him as it did for Nikodem. As Eamon Wen finally brings the car in to get that suspension repaired, but he's not going to want to spend most of the final 10 minutes of the race sitting there in the pit lane.
Got yellow in sector 3, though that's cleared, so maybe someone else was having some issues. And this battle for 14th is starting to get really intense. Loads of cars all over the place. Obviously, lots of these guys are on different laps, and a couple of them are doing pit stops and all this sort of stuff. So there's loads of cars all over the place doing different things. But this is Pedersen now getting through on Mascala, but Mascala giving him just enough room that he needed to. And then getting the slipstream up. And actually, McGowan made a bit of a mistake there. And now we're seeing Nash come up behind him, but not enough to make an overtake there. And McGowan's already been spun around at Piritello, if you remember, as well. But it seems like this battle stayed pretty even for the most part so far. No real moves just yet. Mascala's been holding on very well in P14.
Just seeing what else is happening down the order. Imola still sat. No, he's only just got it into the pit lane, or has he? No, he's actually leaving the pit lane. Good stuff. That didn't take too long at all.
Yeah, maybe wasn't, in terms of repair time, too much damage actually, but there was certainly a lot of physical damage that was causing him to weave about all over the place, so certainly a good thing that he got it done, but not the best thing to happen really. Got to be a little bit of a struggle to make back any any of that time. He's now down in 26th place overall, 3 laps down. There's actually been quite a few cars lapped. Drivers up to 8th place are on the lead lap. And even Nico Barkley might just about get lapped, depending on the pace of Nicodem. But there is only 5.5 minutes to go now, so we're really getting towards the end of this 3 hours of Imola, the 3rd round of the GT3 Endurance season. And we did, at one point in the race, we did think Burst were going to easily win this, but Williams Esport Chill Blast have come back and have taken the lead, and it seems like Nicodem has got the pace on Pedersen, because that has gone well over 5 and now into 6 seconds, the gap as well.
And barring anything catastrophic happening, Burlak will be a safe 3rd. But if Pedersen has some sort of issue, that could be 2nd, but I seriously doubt it. And I think the top 5, as you see it, well, actually, not even the top 8, as you see it, top 10, as you see it, will be how it ends, where the battles are happening, sort of 14th through to 17th. Something could happen here as Speedy might have a look at Muscala. Nothing there as of yet. But still 4:20 remaining. Nice. As this race comes to its final minutes.
Yeah, indeed, and I'm surprised that McGowan hasn't been able to get past Muscala. I do think the Porsche is down on straight line speed, which could be causing issues, but Muscala, I think, is just doing a decent job here, holding on pretty well. Unfortunately, that's pretty much what the car's been doing the whole race. It's just been in front of people, holding them up. Well, not really holding them up, but just defending from them in general. But they seem to be doing a fairly good job, and I'm sure they'll be fairly happy with 14th place. But obviously 2 laps down on the leaders though, so they are struggling a little bit. But he's holding on really well, because not only has he got McGowan, he's got Nash and Stensis in the back as well. So that is going to be a little bit difficult if they start going past. And actually, it's a couple of moves here. We've got Maris trying to defend on the inside from Nascimento for Pro Sim Tech. But it seems that the Flying Goat up into 22nd place now is looking pretty good in the sole Mercedes entry.
Two laps remaining, there or thereabouts. Wisniewski nearly 8 seconds up the road now from Jesper Pedersen. So Pedersen's pace has sort of evaporated since he got passed by Wisniewski. I guess there was no point in trying to race him. Settle for 2nd, bank the points for that. Move on to the next race, which is at Portland.
And Portland's going to be an interesting one as well, because it's so tight, so difficult to overtake. As we see Opportuni here, or Pescara, struggling a little bit. Not the day that they would have wanted.
That car is dead.
He killed his engine.
The engine's gone, yeah.
The DNF reason says the suspension, as Nascimento is trying to go around the outside of rFactor. So that's going to be an amazing move if he can make it work, but that's going to be very difficult. Will Maris give him the space? Yes, he will. So the Flying Goat might be dropping down a position here, as Nascimento is going to be getting past. And they've also got the HM Engineering car behind her there. That's actually not on the same lap as them. So that is going to be a little bit awkward because these guys need to let him through. But once again, Nascimento makes it stick in the braking zone. But they do now need to let past the HM Engineering car. As we see, McGowan getting now under attack from Jochen Stensis coming through the final corner. Only a minute 14 to go. Where is the leader? He's just starting a lap now, so I believe this will be the final lap,
yeah,
of the race. So everyone will now be starting the final lap of the race for the 3 hours of Imola. This is the last chance here down into turn number 2. Can Ollie McGowan finally make it work? Last ditch attempt. But no, he has to back out of that. So this could give the Knight of Alex car an opportunity to get involved as well after a bit of a tough race for them. We'll have to see how it goes coming into this final part of the race. And Prevost had to make a pit stop. He couldn't quite make it on fuel. He needed a splash and dash and has dropped down into 18th place. They're going to be so disappointed with that, as they were in a pretty decent place earlier on when we spoke to Remco Mjort. This race, Aidan, has certainly been an interesting one, an action-packed one with loads of overtakes, and it's about to come to its conclusion.
Yeah, this track seems to really suit GT3s. Maybe it's because they don't have as much dirty air as open wheelers through these sort of medium to high speed corners. Because the Nita Velox car of Hakim gets quite up onto the curbs there. That's the time expired as Wisniewski comes to the final 2 corners.
He does indeed. It was a very, very well driven final stint from Nikodem Wisniewski. And he comes around the final corner and he's got such a long run. The start finish line is way down after all of these kings. But Williams Esports Chill Blast will be taking victory here at the 3 hours of Imola, 3rd race of the season, but they're first. And they show up to the season late, but they join with a bang, getting victory. Jesper Pedersen will be slightly disappointed that he missed out on the victory, but 2nd place is still very good for them, considering where they sit in the championship. Petter Belek is going to be getting 3rd place, but not before we see Muscala come across to hold on for that position. And McGowan could not overtake him. Here we see Petter Belek for Williams Esports Ben Q joining his teammate for a double Williams podium. The 3rd place it will be for the 23 today. I'm sure they'll be pretty happy with that, as they had to work for that in the first stint, getting past Dennis Lind and then eventually getting past Drillers with a bit of strategy and an overtake as well. James Zuber in 4th place. He will be possibly slightly disappointed with not getting the podium, but 4th place is still very good for them indeed. Christian Michel finishing off after his co-driver Dennis Lind put them in a good position in that first stint. Luigi Russo is going to be in 6th place, and he is going to be very happy with that indeed. Go Team Racing, another amazing drive from them. Best of the rest, as their team manager said himself, Georgi Nedev, in the interview, and I'm sure they'll be very happy with 6th place. That is what they're aiming for, to be behind the big boys, and that's what they've done once again. Evolution Motorsports will be coming across in 7th place with Nico Barkley in 8th place. The final car on the lead lap. And now we see, to round off the top 10, we had Antio Navarro in 9th place, already finished a lap down, and Thomas Jacobs for HM Engineering will be there in 10th place. But Aidan, that was certainly a very spicy race, and I wonder if we're going to see any sort of this action coming when we come to Portland in about 5 or 6 weeks' time.
Well, Portland's such a short lap, very difficult to overtake on. So, yeah, we'll probably see more of this at Portland compared to here. It's a wider track as well. We've got that funky final sector that will produce some great overtaking and probably see some massive crashes as well if people get it entirely wrong. But it's going to be very, very exciting to see.
So we've got confirmation on the screen there of the top 10 finishing order, but just brought in the 2 winning drivers of Nikodem and Jakub Brzezinski. So well done, guys. Obviously, you your first race of the season, and you managed to get the overtake there in the final stint over Pedersen. But how was that race for you? Were you confident of your pace, or were you struggling a little bit at the beginning?
Well, we weren't. I mean, that's first race of the season for us. So, and we never raced this car before as well. So we didn't know what to expect. I was like, maybe top 5 would be good. So then obviously I could see I could more or less maintain with Jerne in the first stint. But the thing is, Nico had very little practice because he was busy with other competitions. So I knew that was where the race would be decided, like between the second drivers of both teams. But thankfully, Nico can do like an hour of practice and be on the pace. So I think that is what won us the race.
Now, you mentioned it's a new car for you. Was that a because obviously you use the Corvette in GT Pro. Was that a sort of a tough decision to use different cars? Because obviously Burst, for instance, they use the Corvette in both. So is that a little bit more difficult to you to learn 2 different cars?
Yeah, I mean, we chose BMW because you know I'm not sure if I'm allowed to go into the reasons, but there is a reason why we chose BMW, and like it wasn't purely based on performance. So, but I mean, it was a nice change. Like driving the same car in 2 different series could be a bit boring. So you can always learn something new, and I'm sure we did today. And yeah, at least it's, as I said, it's not boring, and it's a different challenge for sure.
And what do you think you can do as the season progresses? Obviously, you are 100 points behind, or before the start of this race, you were 100 points behind Burst. So you're a little bit of a way behind, but do you think you can sort of catch up and maybe get in the top 5 in the standings or top 3 in the standings?
Well, I think we are trying to just have fun and give the best results what we can for the next races. We don't have any goal, to be in like top 3 in the standings because we joined so late. So yeah, the only goal for us is to have some fun, to make some endurance races, which we love. To do together with Kuba and and make the best results possible. I think that the guys are pretty fast in the Corvette. Now I really have limited time of the practice, but I saw that they are quite good, especially they were saving a fuel at the last stint. So I don't know what to say about next races, but we'll just try to do our best.
Well, you certainly did a good job today, so congratulations. And we will see you next time out. So good luck for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But Aidan, I think that pretty much wraps it up here for the 3 hours of Imola. And it was certainly a very interesting race. But the next one will be in about 5-6 weeks' time in the 3 hours of Portland on the 30th of January 2021. So yes, our next race will be next year already before we go to Indianapolis, Bathurst, Suzuka, and to be announced track for the finale up all the way up in May. So still 5 months of racing for the GT3 Endurance Championship. But that is it from Imola. We've had a very good couple of races here, both in VEC last week and also this championship, so it's been very good. And until the next race here from SimRacing.Club, we wish you a very warm goodbye.